Chapter 2070. The Chilean team is also injured, but they are high-level core formation cultivators, and their spiritual power is vigorous. In addition, there are 10 people. Don't look at how each of them is injured and suppressed, but their true loss is far less than that of the Carefree team. Especially June Mayan, although she won the battle against Chu Tianyu. She also paid a heavy price. Chu Tianyu is powerless to fight again, but does she still have the strength to spare? In other words, in the battle just now, the Chilean team used Chu Tianyu to exchange for the strongest support and the strongest fighting force of the Carefree team. Now, the Carefree team is left with only the weak soldiers, unable to withstand a single blow. Their Chilean team will definitely win. Hee. There's no flowers in the mirror in the next match. You bunch of waste will really be crippled if you're crippled. June Mayan, how about this? You kneel down and kowtow to beg for mercy, and then come under my crotch. Maybe I can let you lose a bit more decently. Xue Hualu spouts nonsense while looking at Mayan with a malicious look. Just now, it was this woman who made him lose face and caused his spirit to suffer irreversible damage. He now hates June Mayan even more than he hates Luoyu. He can't wait to ruthlessly trample on June Mayan and lose all his dignity. Only then will he feel appeased. In the stands, all the cultivators reveal expressions of disgust and anger because of Xue Huailu's words. Although they can't accept that all the glory and splendor have been taken away by the people of Azure Blue World, they are only unwilling, only ashamed. They have never thought of humiliating the strong like this. And Xue Huailu's current action is taking advantage of people's difficulties, using numbers to bully the few. It's the behavior of a shameless villain. Such a despicable and shameless guy. They actually regard this great god as their idol. It's simply an extraordinary shame and humiliation. But even more people are worried about the Carefree team. 7 people fighting, each one covered in cuts and bruises, and without the protection of flowers in the mirror. What will happen to them? Carefree team, withdraw from the competition. We already know that you are the strongest. Yes, June Mayan, no. Great God, June. You are the strongest in the Deer Cry banquet. There's no need to bother with that kind of person. Overwhelming voices come from the stands, reaching the ears of everyone in the Chilean team and the Carefree team. Xue Huailu, Su Yi, and the others' faces contorted. They never would have thought that the majority of the people who originally supported them would now be cheering for the Carefree team. Why? Xue Huailu's eyes were filled with malevolence. He glared at Mu Yin even more fiercely, his eyes filled with crazy killing intent. Duan Wenbin and the others had ugly expressions on their faces as they glared at Xue Huailu and Sui. They cupped their hands towards Mu Yin and said, I know that if we continue to compete now, it will be an unfair victory for our Chilean team. However, our Chilean team represents the Soaring Dragon sect and the Purple Cloud boundary. As long as the rules of the competition allow it, we will never give up on winning. I hope everyone will forgive me for this. If you're not willing to continue fighting, then this match can be considered a draw. Most people agreed with Duan Wenbin's words. This was the demeanor that a cultivator of the Purple Cloud realm, a prodigy of the Soaring Dragon, should have. After Duan Wenbin said this, he thought that everyone in the Carefree team would agree with him, as if a heavy burden had been lifted off their shoulders. However, who would have thought that what greeted him was Mayan's chuckle? Are you sure you want to continue the competition? The Tian Mo Chin appeared in Mayan's hand, and she slowly sat down on the ground. Her fingers moved the strings, making a melodious sound. I advise you not to. Otherwise, the Chilean team will not even have the last bit of fig leaf. Chapter 2071. Duan Wenbin frowns. Miss June, there's no point in boasting at this time. Mayan sneers. Well, since you think it's boasting, then let's continue the game. Her eyes sweep over the people of the Xiao Yao sect. Responding to her is the tacit laughter of her fellow apprentices. Lung Yuma is bathed in blood, but her eyes flash with a burning light of desire. Junior sister, let's start. I'm already impatient waiting for the moment to hang them up and beat them up. Hang them up and beat them up. This word makes the Chilean team and the cultivators in the stands stare blankly. Are the people of the Xiao Yao team crazy, Or did they hit their heads? They actually want to hang them up and beat the Qilin team, relying on their almost exhausted spiritual power and riddled with holes? Haha! Shui Huailu lets out an unbridled laugh. Want to hang us up and beat us up? This is the best joke I've ever heard. Su Yi also sneers. In a moment, when we beat them half to death, don't cry for mercy. Even Duan Wenbin and Chu Yuanlei frown. The people of the Xiaoyao team are too arrogant. They're clearly an arrow at the end of its flight, yet they still dare to talk nonsense. Even if today's victory is unfair, they must teach these madmen a lesson. As she thinks this, Mayan's fingers on the zither suddenly speed up. The next moment, an invisible energy is emitted from the Tian Mo Qin, splitting into 6 parts and connecting to the 6 people of the Xiaoyao sect. In an instant, the spiritual power in the air forms a whirlpool and rushes into the Tian Mo Qin. Then along the Tian Mo Qin, it rushes to the 7 people connected. At the same time, the 7 people's divine sense, fighting intent, and primordial spirit are highly unified, blending and matching. Shin Musician Level 6 Skill. Big Dipper starts. Almost as soon as the Big Dipper is launched, Chu Tianyo's pupils suddenly shrink. He looks up at the 7 people of the Xiao Yao team in disbelief. There's only one thought in his mind. The Qilin team lost. A crushing defeat. Lung Yuma wasn't lying. The Xiao Yao team can really hang the Qilin team. And Jun Mayan, or rather, Yi Liangqin, thoroughly trampled Chu Tianyu under her feet. He was defeated wholeheartedly, without the slightest hesitation or complaint. Under the dumbfounded gaze of tens of thousands of people in Flying Dragon City. The Carefree team, which had formed the Big Dipper formation, defeated the Qilin team with a crushing force. Duan Wenbin, Murong Shui, and the others had it easy if they fought head-on. At most, he would be kicked out of the ring or knocked unconscious. The injuries on his body were only superficial wounds that would heal in 3 to 5 days. The truly pitiful ones were Shui Huailu and Su Yi. When the members of the Carefree squad beat them up, they really beat them to death. His hair was disheveled, and his clothes were in tatters. The screams of the 2 of them, like pigs being slaughtered, resounded in every corner of Flying Dragon City. All the spectators in the Flying Dragon City couldn't help but swallow their saliva, but they still felt a chill down their spines. How terrifying! The Carefree team was so scary. Damn it, is this a spar? It was clearly a one-sided abuse. Didn't they see Shui Huailu and Su Yi, the 2 former champions of Ganhua, and Hiyu, bawling their eyes out with tears and snot? Moreover, if you beat people up, then beat them up. Why did you beat them until they lost their clothes? Long Tongue's Heaven's Pride, a noble son of an aristocratic family, a former great god, exposing his balls and buttocks in public. He doesn't want face. Then he heard Mayan say in a heavenly voice, "Time is tight. It's such a pity that I can't draw a picture of a beauty." Chapter 2072. Everyone in the stands shuddered at the thought of it. At this moment, there's only one thought echoing in their minds. The unfettered 7 demons can't be provoked. Absolutely can't be provoked. The female demon Mayan can't be provoked. Can't be provoked even in death. After the match, the unfettered team, Qilin team, and instructor Long Tongue returned to the Chaotic Tower. At this time, there's only 2 hours left until the mysterious heavenly orb condenses. The atmosphere in the Chaotic Tower is very heavy. The previously high-spirited Qilin team is now dejected, their faces filled with disappointment. As for the most miserable Su Yi and Shui Huailu, they've already fainted, thrown into a corner of the Chaotic Tower like a pile of mud. No one even looks at them. Even the Qilin team feels disdain and disgust towards these 2, ashamed to be associated with them. But what about their captain, Chu Tianyu? He said he's Yi Liangqin, but in the match just now, he lost to Jun Mayan. The King Yi Liangqin is the Lord of 6 stars, an omnipotent existence. And the heaven-defying strength that Mayan displayed in the battle is even greater than the rumored Yi Liangqin. No matter how much the Qilin team respects and trusts their captain, their hearts are filled with suspicion. Boss Chu. Suddenly, Murong Shui strode forward and blocked Chu Tianyo's path. Boss Chu, tell us one more time. Are you Yi Liangchen? In the chaotic tower, everyone's gazes are focused on them. Shui. Duan Wenbin tugs at her. How can you speak to the captain like that? The other Qilin team look at Mayan, then at Chu Tianyu, and hangs their heads. I've always been like this. If there's something in my heart, I just can't hold it in. Bite me. Murong Shui shakes off Duan Wenbin's hand and stares straight at Chu Tianyu. Boss Chu, I've always respected you as our boss, the only captain of the Qilin team. You have a gentle temperament. You're upright and kind. You never bully the weak, nor help the wicked. I don't want to believe that you're a shameless person who impersonates others and plucks the fruits of others. Now, please tell me personally whether you're a Yap Liangshun or not. As long as you say you are, everyone in the Kirin squad will believe you unconditionally. Even if Murong Shui paused for a moment, then choked with sobs. Even if you really did lie for some reason, as long as you tell us, the Qilin squad will bear the consequences with you. We will apologize to those who need to apologize and compensate those who need to be compensated together. Captain, please give the order to the Qilin team. As soon as Murong Shui said this, everyone in the Qilin team, including Duan Wenbin, looked up at Chu Tianyu with bright eyes. Everyone's eyes shone with trust, respect, and unwavering comradeship. Chu Tianyu felt as if his heart was being grabbed by something, and he couldn't breathe for a moment. However, there was also a surge of sourness and warmth that surged into his heart. It made his eyes burn, and he almost wanted to cry. Sorry, Before Chu Tianyu could finish his words, a hand suddenly pressed heavily on his shoulder. Yu Tsinjin laughed and said, What nonsense are you talking about? Tianyu is obviously Yap Liangchen. Chu Tianyu frowned. Before he could say anything, the outspoken Chu Yuanlei already said, But it's true that our Qilin team lost just now. The winner will be Yap Liangchen. This was agreed before the game. Chapter 2073. Besides, that girl in the carefree team, that Jun Mayan is really powerful, more powerful than our boss and us. Only such a person could become the Lord of 6 Stars and stand at the top of all the elites in the Soaring Dragon Academy. What a joke! Yu Tsunjian sneered. Whoever wins will be Yi Liangchen. Who made the rule? Is it so easy to confirm Yi Liangchen's identity? This time, even the dean and the mentors of the Soaring Dragon Academy frowned. In fact, in the battle just now, Jun Mayan's performance had convinced them that the girl was Yap Liangchen. But now, what did Yu Tsunjin mean? Yu Tsunjin glanced at Mayan and said slowly, Have you forgotten that Yi Liangchen has another identity besides being the Lord of 6 Stars? He is the successor of the King of Medicine. Many mentors in the Soaring Dragon Academy know about Tianyo's talent in alchemy. But as far as I know, no one in the Carefree team knows alchemy. Some days ago, he even blew up 2 alchemy furnaces in the Tianlang Palace. Is that true? Mayan glanced at him with a faint smile. So, what if it is? Look, your words have exposed that you are not Yi Liangchen at all. Elder Song laughed. Yi Liangchen is the successor of the King of Medicine. If the successor of the King of Medicine doesn't know alchemy, wouldn't it be a joke? Now, even Zhou Daoi and the others looked doubtful. Yes, many people witnessed the explosion of the alchemy furnaces in the Tianlang Palace. A person who could blow up 2 alchemy furnaces in a row must know nothing about alchemy. How could such a person be qualified to be the successor of the King of Medicine? On the other hand, Chu Tianyu had shown amazing talent in alchemy when he first joined the Soaring Dragon Academy. Over the years, his talent had been growing day by day. Until now, there were only 2 mentors in the entire Soaring Dragon Academy who could surpass Chu Tianyu in alchemy, let alone students. Chu Tianyu's face darkened, and his eyes were full of irritation. Vice Dean Yu, please stop. I don't. Before he could finish, the hand on his shoulder suddenly tightened, and the nails almost dug into his flesh. Chu Tianyu felt the pain seeping into his bones, and he couldn't help but groan. Before he could raise his head, he heard Yu Tijin's cold voice ringing in his ears. Your Highness, you'd better think it through. This is the last chance the Marquis is giving you. If you still can't obtain the profound heaven pearl this time, you will not be able to escape death. But the one who will be even more miserable is your mother." Chu Tianyu's body trembled, and his face turned pale like snow. He clenched his teeth until the tip of his tongue tasted blood. Only then did he close his eyes miserably. He allowed himself to sink all his conscience, hopes, and expectations into the abyss of hell. Yu Tsunjin revealed a victorious smile. Glancing over the Kirin team, he loosened his grip on Chu Tianyu's shoulder and patted him gently. "Come on, Tianyu. Tell them if you're Yi Liangshun." Chu Tianyu slowly opened his eyes and met the expectant and nervous gazes of the Kirin squad. A stiff smile appeared on the corner of his mouth as he said in a hoarse voice, "I'm Yi Liangshun. I want to obtain the profound heaven pearl." For a moment, the expressions of the Kirin squad were complicated. Some breathed a sigh of relief, some were suspicious, and some were disappointed. However, all of this no longer mattered to Chu Tianyu. Yu Tsunjin turned his triumphant eyes to Mu Yin. "Miss June, I'll give you one more chance. Do you still think you're the only successor of the King of Medicine, Yi Liangshun?" Chapter 2074. Mu Yin glanced meaningfully at Chu Tianyu, who was in a daze, and then looked at Yu Tsunjin. "Vice Elder Yu, do you mean that Chu Tianyu and Dragon Soaring Academy are going to go back on their word again?" Before the competition between Team Qilin and Team Carefree, everyone had tacitly agreed that the winner would be Yi Liangshun. Lan Huahong had already returned to the palace, but Lan Feng stayed to support Mu Yin. Seeing this scene, he could not help but sneer. "Executive Zhou, no matter what, Dragon Soaring Academy is still one of the best places for educating people on the path of cultivation. How can you still go back on your word like this?" Zhou Daoi's face darkened, and he was in a dilemma. The mysterious sky bead and the chaotic tower are the most precious treasures left by the emperor. Isn't it reasonable to be careful? Elder Song shouted. This little girl obviously doesn't know how to refine elixirs. How could she become the successor of King of Medicine? There is something strange about it. How can she be Yi Liangshun just because she won the competition? Lan Feng said angrily, "Everyone knows that none of the 3 tests of King of Medicine have anything to do with elixir refining. King of Medicine wants to choose people with talent in elixir refining, not those who have experience in alchemy. Even if Miss June doesn't know how to refine elixirs, it doesn't prove that she is not Yi Liangshun." And it was true. On the surface, the 3 inheritance tests of King of Medicine indeed had nothing to do with elixir refining. But who asked King of Medicine to be the only holy ancestor-level alchemist in the world? Yu Tsunjin sneered. "You don't know how to refine elixirs at all? Yet you have the nerve to call yourself the personal disciple of King of Medicine? What a joke!" The hall of the chaotic tower fell into an impasse. Mu Yin slightly raised her eyebrows and glanced at the people of Dragon Soaring Academy with a faint smile. "Then how do you want to prove who is Yi Liangshun?" Yu Tsunjin was silent for a moment. He looked at Chu Tianyu and gritted his teeth. "Refine elixirs. In this chaotic tower, you two will compete in alchemy. Whoever can refine the better elixir will be Yi Liangshun." He said this, expecting to see Mu Yin and the people of Team Carefree in panic, anger, and unwillingness. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, the 7 boys and girls all revealed a strange smile. These people looked at Chu Tianyu as if they were looking at an idiot. A trace of uneasiness and anger rose in Yu Tsunjin's heart. He snapped, "What are you laughing at?" Mu Yin ignored him and leisurely found a chair in the hall and lazily sat down. The people of the Xiaorao sect did the same. They all sat comfortably and leisurely, as if they were in their own garden. He had completely disregarded the many mentors and deans of the Dragon Soaring Academy. Yu Tsunjin was furious. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Mu Yin. A slender white finger was raised, and a voice as sweet as the sounds of nature resounded in everyone's ears. "Do you want to compete in alchemy? Not bad, but I have a condition." Elder Song was enraged. "You arrogant little girl, how dare you raise conditions with us?" Yu Tsunjin's face turned blue and white. Muyin ignored them and said leisurely, "If you don't agree, fine. I will leave the chaotic tower right now." However, in less than a quarter of an hour, the news that the Dragon Soaring Academy asked Shu Tianyu to pretend to be Yi Liangchen, the Lord of Six Stars, will spread throughout the Tianguang ruins and even the Purple Cloud realm. Everyone's faces froze and almost twisted. Chapter 2075. This little girl is so ruthless. So ruthless. What kind of existence is Yap Liangchen in the Tianguang ruins? He is the real god, the belief of all Liangchen's army. Do you think that there is no king below Yap Liangchen is just a casual remark? In the eyes of Liangchen's army, their great god Yap is omnipotent and invincible. Under such circumstances, if you let them know that Longtongue Academy found a loser to pretend to be the perfect great god Yap in their eyes, wouldn't these crazy Liangchen's army overturn the entire Longtongue Academy? This is a threat, a blatant threat. Zhou Daoi coughed lightly. "Tell me the condition first." Mayan smiled and gently stroked the jade key of the Tianguang ruins with her fingers. Then she said slowly, "I want everyone to swear by their souls that from today on, no information about Yap Liangchen will be leaked. If they violate this, they will be punished by heaven and their souls will be destroyed." Previously, she didn't want to say that she was Yap Liangchen because she wanted to keep a low profile and avoid trouble. But now, Yap Liangchen, who has the mysterious heaven bead and the king of medicine's inheritance, was already a crime. Mine could totally imagine that if the news of her being Yap Liangchen was spread out, there would definitely be a group of people coming to him. They all wanted to get what they wanted from Yap Liangchen. What if they couldn't get it? Coercion, bribery, murder, and robbing were all common occurrences. If it wasn't for the fact that she had to get the mysterious heaven bead, Mayan didn't want anyone in the Ziyun realm to know that she was Yap Liangchen. Hearing this condition, Zhou Daoi was immediately relieved. Okay, we agree. They didn't want to reveal Yap Liangchen's identity. Guessing was one thing, but if mine was really Yap Liangchen, the Longting Academy would lose all its face. If they didn't reveal Yap Liangchen's identity, they would at least have one last piece of fig leaf. Strangely, after frowning, Elder Song and Yu Tsunjin agreed without hesitation. However, they revealed a meaningful sneer of contempt on their faces. Everyone present, including Xue Huailu and Su Yi, was forced to swear that they wouldn't reveal any information about Yap Liangchen. Soon, two huge alchemy furnaces with flowing halos appeared in front of them. These two pill furnaces were both rank 8 spirit artifacts. Moreover, it was a high-grade spirit weapon among the 8th rank spirit weapons. Each of them was worth 7 or 8 million high-grade crystal stones. They saw Mu Yin walking towards one of the alchemy furnaces, surrounded by the members of the Xiaoyao sect. Zhou Daoi's brows suddenly twitched. Don't tell me this 8th grade alchemy furnace exploded again? No matter how wealthy the Dragon Soaring Academy was, they couldn't afford to have high-grade spirit artifacts explode one after another. Mayan's complexion darkens. If she explodes again, she'll be as poor as a doorbell. The members of the Carefree Squad laughed out loud, without holding back. Little junior sister, if we really blow up the 3rd alchemy furnace, we'll all have to sell our bodies to the Dragon Soaring Academy to pay off our debts. That's right. You must take it easy this time. If you want to sell yourself, let little junior sister do it. She's more valuable. Maybe if we sell junior sister, we'll be able to go back to the azure blue world and live a good life. Mu Yin. Selling me for 3 alchemy furnaces, is our brother-sister friendship made of paper? The people of the Xiaoyao school were laughing and joking, but their conversation was overheard by Yu Tsunjian and Xue Huailu, who had just woken up. Chapter 2076. However, he felt that she really did not know how to forge weapons. Yu Tsunjin's anxious heart was completely at ease. As for Xue Huailu and Su Yi, their gazes weren't just filled with hatred and fear, they were filled with bone-deep hatred. After waking up, the two of them discovered that more than half of their meridians and sea of consciousness had been destroyed. Both of them were auxiliary cultivators. With their sea of consciousness destroyed, It was equivalent to saying that all their previous cultivation efforts were in vain. How could they not hate him? As long as they can prove that Junmayan is not Yap Liangshan, they will immediately dismember this group of bastards. Even if Junmayan was really Yap Liangshan, they would still consign them to eternal damnation. The alchemy competition soon began. This time, Chu Tianyu did not say anything, but silently stood in front of the alchemy furnace. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with sorrow. Yu Tsunjin was worried that the man was deliberately going easy on him. But when Chu Tianyu took out some rare and precious spirit herbs, Yu Tsunjin's worry immediately turned into ecstasy. This is the formula of Golden Crow elixir. Is Tianyu going to refine a 7th grade Golden Crow elixir? As soon as these words came out, the entire hall was in an uproar. In the cultivation world, there was a rule that could not be followed. An alchemist can only be called a grandmaster when he can refine a 7th grade and above medicinal pill. For example, a 7th-tier alchemy grandmaster. From this, it was obvious how great the gap between a 7th and 6th grade medicinal pill was. As for the Golden Crow pill, it was a rare item among the 7th grade pills. With the assistance of elixirs, cultivators with metal and fire spiritual roots could refine their meridians and condense metal and fire elemental energy faster, thus speeding up their advancement. In the Tianguang ruins, a Golden Crow elixir could be sold for at least a few 100,000 high-grade crystals. Captain can already refine 7th grade pills? How old is he? In our family, even a 100-year-old alchemist might not be able to refine the Golden Crow pill. This kind of alchemy talent, this kind of improvement speed, to say that he is the only successor of the Medicine King is really too believable. Could it be that Yap Liangshan wasn't Junmayan, but Chu Tianyu? Looking at Mu Yan's side. Little junior sister, did you see that Chu Tianyu only took out rare spirit medicines? Why are all these cheap goods that can be found on the streets? Are you sure you can fight against Chu Tianyu like this? Mu Yan has a headache. Do you think I wanna? I am also very helpless. This isn't the fault of Chi Huang, that brat. The Tian Mo Chin space doesn't let him put this, doesn't let him put that. He even said that the spiritual herbs she bought were trash. She could only place them in the jade key of the Tianguang ruins. Now, she couldn't take them out. The only thing he left behind was a small storage ring, which contained some ordinary spirit herbs that he had collected in the Azure Blue Realm's Red Yang Mountain Range. Yun Ruhan frowned and said, "Little junior sister, what spirit herbs do you need? Do you want me to find them for you now?" Mayan was moved in her heart. At the critical moment, eldest senior brother was indeed the best. However, she still shook her head. No need, no need. I'll just refine what I'm best at. Luo Yu asked curiously, 6th senior sister, what pill are you best at? Could it be the Zhiyuan Dan? Mu Yan hooks up her lips, revealing a mysterious smile. You'll know in a while. Time passed as the 2 pill furnaces burned with raging alchemic flames. Finally, after nearly an hour, an anomaly appeared on Chu Tianyu's side. Accompanied by crackling sounds coming from the alchemy furnace, rays of golden light were emitted from the lid of the alchemy furnace. Chapter 2077. At the same time, a rich medicinal aroma permeated the entire hall. Is it really the Golden Crow elixir? Even the vice deans were shocked. Tianyu really made a 7th grade Golden Crow elixir. Who would believe that a Golden Core cultivator under the age of 30 could make a 7th grade Golden Crow elixir? Yu Tsunjian and Elder Song were full of pride. This proves that Tianyu is the real Yu Liangshan, right? Without his talent, who would be qualified to be the personal disciple of the King of Medicine? Elder Song looked up at the top of the tower and said anxiously, the Dark Heaven Orb is about to condense. I'd better ask Tianyu to get it first. Yes. There was less than half an hour left before the Dark Heaven Orb would condense. The entire chaotic tower had fallen to the ground. There was also a faint but powerful energy fluctuation coming from the top of the tower. Yu Tsunjian and Elder Song thought that as long as they could get the Dark Heaven Orb, it didn't matter who Yi Liangshan was. However, Zhou Daoi and the others became more cautious after the previous match. Zhou Daoyi said, "No hurry. Mine is not done yet. Let's wait and see." Almost at the same time his voice fell, Mu Yan's alchemy furnace also stirred. The same dazzling light was emitted from the furnace. But the difference was that the light on Mayan's side did not come from the top of the furnace, but from the whole furnace. Almost at the same time, the whole furnace was creaking as if it would disintegrate at any time. Zhou Daoyi's face darkened. Is it going to explode again? There was a loud bang, but it was not the furnace that exploded. Instead, it was the lid that flew off. A fragrance several times stronger than the golden crow elixir made by Chu Tianyu came from inside. At the bottom of the furnace, 10 shining elixirs were lying quietly. "It's done," Lung Yuma said happily. "Junior sister, what elixir is this? It smells even stronger than the elemental elixir, but I don't think I've smelled it before." Just as Mu Yin was about to reply, she saw that the 8th grade alchemy furnace seemed to have completed its mission and could no longer endure it. It let out creaking sounds and then suddenly collapsed, shattering into a pile of residue. All of a sudden, Zhou Daoyi was dumbfounded. Everyone in the Xiao Yao squad was dumbfounded. Mu Yin is also struck dumb. Bastard. This time, she had clearly tried her best to restrain herself. She did not use the Heart's Eye array formation, nor did she use the cloud-forming sea. So why did the furnace still explode? This broken alchemy furnace couldn't be a fake, right? She swallowed her saliva and forced a smile at Zhou Daoyi. At least the furnace didn't explode this time. Maybe if I stick them together. I can stick them together? The last 3 words were softly silenced by Zhou Daoyi's murderous gaze. Zhou Daoyi really wanted to cry. The third high-grade alchemy furnace. Nearly 10 million top-grade crystals. Even someone as wealthy as Long Tongue would feel the pain of losing so much in one go. Did this bastard girl really think that her family owned Soaring Dragon? And he said that at least the furnace didn't explode. How dare you talk about sticking together? Stick to your big head. Pay. This time, they had to pay. Furthermore, he had to compensate him for the 2 that he had blown up last time. However, before Zhou Daoyi could lose his temper, he heard Yu Tsunjian ridiculing. "You destroyed an 8th grade alchemy furnace and only refined a few 6th grade elixirs." Chapter 2078. Jun Mayan. How dare you call yourself Yi Liangshun with such a level of alchemy? At this time, Mayan's 10 elixirs have been placed together with Chu Tianyu's 2 elixirs. Yes, Chu Tianyu only refined 2 elixirs in one go. But no one would think that the value of 2 7th grade elixirs would be lower than that of 10 6th grade elixirs. In the first round, Chu Tianyu lost to Jun Mayan, and the Qilin team lost to the Carefree team. But in the second round of the elixir competition, it was obvious that Chu Tianyu won. Yu Tsunjian looked at Zhou Daoyi. "Dean, there's nothing more to say, right? Yi Liangshun is Tianyu. Now that the mysterious heaven bead is about to condense, shouldn't we let him take it?" Zhou Daoyi frowned and said nothing. Vice Dean Zhu stepped forward and picked up one of the elixirs refined by Mayan. "Strange, why haven't I seen this elixir before? This breath is not recorded in any ancient book. What elixir is this?" Elder Song said impatiently. "Is it interesting to ask what elixir it is at this time? Even if it's a rare elixir, can it change the fact that it's only a 6th grade elixir?" Mayan chuckled. "Isn't the real effect of the so-called elixir more important than its grade? Or do you think that a 7th grade restoration elixir and a 7th grade golden crow elixir are of the same value?" What a joke. The golden crow elixir is the best even among the 7th grade elixirs. Do you want to say that your 6th grade elixir is more valuable than the golden crow elixir? Mayan, whether it's valuable or not, we'll know after taking it. With that, she turned to look at all the people present and finally hooked her finger at Zhu Chongliang of the Qilin team. Zhu Chongliang looked around and pointed at himself blankly. "Me? Mayan Yu. Come here." The girl's words were concise, and her expression was languid. But those enchanting peach blossom eyes and that pleasant voice seemed to have a magic power that made people unconsciously want to revere her. Zhu Chongliang didn't even think about it as he eagerly ran to her. "May I ask what Miss Jun's instructions are?" Before he could finish his last word, a fragrant pill was stuffed into his mouth. Then, a force slammed into his chest, and he swallowed it with a gulp. Zhu Chongliang had yet to react even after the pill entered his stomach. His face was filled with confusion. Jun Mayan fed him the elixir that she refined? What kind of pill was that? Could it be that the captain wanted to poison him because he had stolen the title of Yap Liangshan? Just as Zhu Chongliang's imagination was running wild, Elder Song saw this and laughed out loud. Jun Mayan, are you stupid? What does letting Zhu Chongliang eat the pill you refine prove? Even if his spiritual power immediately increases, even if his muscles and bones are tempered, does that prove that your Dan is better than the Golden Crow Dan? Everyone present was also confused. Elder Song was right. The effects of most medicinal pills could not be seen in a short period of time. Furthermore, even if he could see its effects, how could he prove that it was better than the Golden Crow pill? Just then, Zhu Chongliang's expression suddenly changed, and he exclaimed, "Oh my God!" Everyone was startled by his sudden cry. Duan Wenbin was about to ask him, "What's wrong?" He saw Zhu Chongliang suddenly sit cross-legged on the ground, and the spiritual power of his whole body began to operate crazily. Immediately after, the spiritual power inside and outside the hall all rushed towards his dantian. Chapter 2079. At first, everyone was confused, not knowing what was going on. But slowly, some people began to see the signs. Zhou Daoi exclaimed, "Advancement!" Zhu Chongliang advanced. Everyone in the hall was dumbfounded when they heard this. Zhu Chongliang's current cultivation was at the 9th stage of the Golden Core. Many people knew that only when a cultivator reached the peak of the Golden Core could he feel the existence of the nascent soul. Then, by taking elixirs and practicing, the nascent soul could be slowly condensed into a nascent soul. Zhu Chongliang was at the top of the fortune list, but his strength was far inferior to Duan Wenbin and Chu Yuanlei. One of the important reasons was that he was only at the 9th stage of the Golden Core, and they were at the peak of the Golden Core. But advancing from the 9th stage of the Golden Core to the peak could be said to be the most difficult of all the small stages. Even though he had taken a lot of elixirs to refine his body and condense his soul, he was still one step away. This was known to the Qilin team and even to the teachers and students of the Longting Institute. But at this moment, Zhu Chongliang, who had been stuck at the 9th stage of the Golden Core, directly advanced after taking one of Mayan's elixirs. How could they not be shocked? How could they not be shocked? Elder Song's smile froze on his face. Yu Tsunjian's face was also twisted. The people of the Xiaoyao school all felt proud and elated. Lung Yuma sneered, "Elder, you just bragged about the 7th stage Golden Crow elixir. Now, do you dare to guarantee that the Golden Crow elixir can help people advance in an instant?" Elder Song's lips trembled for a long time. Who said that the Golden Crow elixir can't be? It can't be done. However, he was interrupted by Chu Tianyu before he could finish his words. Chu Tianyu's face was calm as he said lightly, "The Golden Crow elixir can't help people advance, nor can it expel the impurities in the veins during the advancement. The value of one Golden Crow elixir is not equal to that of one refined by Mayan. It couldn't even compare to 1-to-1, let alone 2-to-10. Everyone was dumbfounded and couldn't react at all. They had thought that Chu Tianyu would beat Mayan in the second round. But the result was that he lost even more miserably? Devour? What kind of pill is this? The vice deans nervously look at Mayan. I really have never seen this elixir in any ancient book. Muyin chuckles lightly, grabs a pill, and casually tosses it. Of course you guys haven't seen it before. That's because this medicinal pill is something that I created. Original creation? Mayan raises her hand, and a talisman appears in her left hand. This is my father's signature talisman, unique to the #1 shop under the heavens. His right hand gently caught the pill falling from the sky. This is the signature pill unique to my old man's #1 under heaven store. These two can be considered a set. Now, do you know what this pill is? Everyone stared blankly. Suddenly, several people cried out in unison, "Barrier-breaking pill." Yes, Anyone who had been to the Tianguang ruins and heard of Yap Liangshan and Laozi's #1 shop in the world would know about it. Who doesn't know what's the most popular talisman in the world's #1 shop? It was the barrier-breaking talisman. No one had ever heard of such a talisman since the beginning of the cultivation world. With enough talismans, it could assist a cultivator below the core formation stage to advance. The only one who could draw up a barrier-breaking talisman was Yi Liangshan. And now, she this abnormal evildoer, not only could she draw up a barrier-breaking talisman. Chapter 2080. He had actually refined an even more powerful and terrifying bottleneck-breaking pill. God, is this person really omniscient and omnipotent? In fact, these people don't know that when Mayan was in the Yinwu continent, she also created a filter of barrier breaking. Filter of barrier breaking talisman, barrier breaking pill. 3 completely different items, but in terms of effectiveness, they were all of the same series, the same set. That was why Mayan said that she would refine the elixir that she was most familiar with. He had already sold 2 continents. How could he not be familiar with it? Mu Yin casually tosses the elixir and talisman in her hand to one side and slowly stands up. Her gaze sweeps over everyone present, and her clear voice resounds in everyone's ears like ice and jade striking against each other. Now, does anyone still doubt that I am not Yi Liangshan's? The entire Great Hall of the Chaotic Tower was completely silent. Did anyone still suspect that she was Yap Liangshan? How could he doubt it? She had even concocted a bottleneck-breaking pill. The effect was exactly the same as the barrier-breaking talisman. No, it should be said that it was an advanced version of the barrier-breaking talisman. You said that you suspect that she is not Yap Liangshan. If you have the ability, you can also make a barrier-breaking talisman compatriot elixir. After a long time, Zhou Daoyi slowly let out a breath. Looks like there's no doubt about Yi Liangshan's identity now. Just as he finished speaking, the entire chaotic pagoda shook violently. Even the 6-star pagoda on the side and the entire flying dragon city started to shake. Everyone's faces changed as they lifted their heads to look. The profound heaven bead had finally condensed successfully. The top of the chaotic tower was so high that it pierced through the clouds. Looking up, there was only an endless staircase with no end in sight. But now, a dazzling light shone from above. At the same time, the Tian Emochin in Mayan space vibrates violently, constantly flying upwards. It seemed to be agitated, but also like excitement and desire. Inside the chaotic tower, Mu Yin had no way of contacting Seven Brilliance. But even if she thought about it, she knew that the brat must be shouting in the space. He threatened her that if she did not obtain the profound heaven pearl, she would definitely die. Soon, the dazzling light at the top of the pagoda slowly converged, gradually condensing into a dark blue pearl. Slowly, it flew downwards. The moment they saw the pearl, many of them stared blankly. This is the treasure of heaven and earth, the mysterious heaven orb. Even Chu Tianyu, who had already lost all hope, was breathing heavily. This was something that he had dreamt of day and night. It was his and his mother's only hope of escaping hell. If he could obtain the profound heaven orb, would he be able to obtain redemption? Not to mention Yu Suinjian and Elder Song, whose eyes were already filled with greed. The mysterious heavenly pearl slowly hovered above a jade box in the center of the hall. As the light dissipated, it turned into an ordinary blue stone. But even though it didn't emit any light or spiritual energy fluctuations, it made people crazily want it. Zhou Daoyi swallowed his saliva, instinctively wanting to touch the blue stone. But as if he suddenly thought of something, he turns his head with difficulty to look at Mayan, and says in a deep voice, "Miss June, no. Yi Liangshan, the mysterious heaven orb is yours. Please take it." Mayan nods, restraining the agitation in her heart and the restlessness of the Tian Emochin. She walks towards the mysterious heaven bead. However, she had only taken 2 steps. A strong gust of qi ruthlessly attacked her. Mayan's reaction is extremely fast, and in the nick of time, she flies back several meters. Only then does she manage to avoid the attack. Chapter 2081. Even so, there was still a wound on Mayan's arm. It was so deep that the bone could be seen. Mayan's eyes darkened as she looked up at Yu Tsunjin. Judging from the sword move just now, Yu Tsunjin's strength was at least at the out-of-body stage. Moreover, he was a practitioner at the out-of-body stage who was several times stronger than Lan Feng. He was by no means a match for the current Mayan. The Vice Dean of the Dragon Soaring Academy withdrew the flying sword in his hand and revealed a fierce expression. He looked at her with a sneer. "You're just a silly girl. Who said you're qualified to take the mysterious heaven bead?" Junior sister, are you all right?" Lung Yuma was furious and glared at Yu Tsunjin. "You can't compete openly, so you want to snatch it shamelessly? So the Dragon Soaring Academy of the Ziyun realm is such a shameless thing? Not to mention the members of the Carefree team. Even the mentors of the Dragon Soaring Academy and the members of the Qilin team were stunned. Zhou Daoi's face darkened. "Yu Tsunjin, what are you doing? The mysterious heaven bead belongs to the Lord of 6 Stars. This is the rule left by the Emperor, and no one can violate it." Yu Tsunjin ignored him and turned to grab the mysterious heaven bead. However, before he could get close, Zhou Daoi's body had already emitted a sword radiance. It was so powerful that it forced him back a few meters. The Dean of the Dragon Soaring Academy, who usually looked like a nice guy, now looked cold. "Yu Tsunjin, are you really going to disregard the Emperor's order?" Yu Tsunjin's face turned blue and white. He lowered his eyes to hide the anger and urgency in them. When he looked up again, these emotions had been restrained. He said respectfully, "I don't mean to disobey the Emperor. But who Yi Liangchun is, isn't it still uncertain? This little girl said that it's a bottleneck-breaking elixir. Who can prove it? Besides, even if this elixir can help people advance, is it better than the golden black elixir?" Yes. Elder Song came back to his senses and shouted. "Ask anyone who's more valuable, a 7th-grade golden crow pill or a 6th-grade pill that no one has ever heard of. The answer is definitely the golden crow pill. In my opinion, Tianyu is the winner of this competition. He is Yap Liangqin, the one who should get the mysterious heaven orb. This time, not to mention Mu Yin and the others. Even Instructor Longtongue and the members of the Qilin team could tell that something was wrong. These two people were clearly pestering endlessly, wanting to let Chu Tianyu obtain the profound heaven pearl no matter what." Vice Dean Zhu's face darkened. "Vice Dean Yu, Elder Song, that's enough. Not only are you guys losing face, but you're also losing face for Longtongue." Saying that, he turned towards Mayan and said in a gentle voice, "I believe that you are Yi Liangqin. Take the mysterious heaven orb. Who dares?" Before Vice President Zhu could finish his words, Yu Tsunjin bellowed. At this moment, there was a bright red paper crane in his hand. With a trace of madness on his face, Yu Tsunjin raised the crane in his hand high and said with a loud voice, "Chu Tianyu is the crown prince of the Dingwa Manor. This mysterious heaven orb clearly belongs to His Royal Highness, but you want to take it by force and give it to someone else. Do you think the Dingwa Marquis will let it go if he knows all this? If you insist on giving the mysterious heaven orb to a little girl, then don't blame me for informing the Dingwa Marquis at once. At that time, I'm afraid that even the whole school would be in question, let alone the face of the Longting Academy." Chapter 2082. As soon as he said that, the atmosphere in the chaotic tower instantly froze. The faces of the principals and mentors of Longting were as black as the bottom of a pot. They were furious, but there was also a faint fear and dread in their hearts. Who was Dingwa Marquis Chu Xinyan? He was ranked 3rd on the Blue Sky Roll, the most authoritative ranking in the Purple Cloud realm. There were many legends about Chu Xinyan. Some said that he had lived for more than 300 years and had long surpassed the limit of a tribulation stage practitioner. Some said that he controlled an extremely powerful army of practitioners. If he attacked, it would not be a problem for him to destroy the Lan family empire. Some also said that although Dingwa Marquis Chu Xinyan looked gentle and elegant now. Few people knew how bloody and cruel he was in the past, torturing and killing countless practitioners to prolong his life. No matter whether these legends were true or not. But one thing was for sure. Dingwa Marquis Chu Xinyan was very powerful. He was so powerful that all the aristocratic families and sects did not dare to touch him easily. If Chu Xinyan really wanted to attack Longting, then Longting would be in danger. Zhou Daoi pointed at Yu Tsunjian and Elder Song, who was standing next to him, and said in a trembling voice, So you have been the henchman of Dingwa Marquis for a long time. He suddenly looked at Chu Tianyu and said through gritted teeth, What about you? Do you think so too? The mysterious heaven bead should be yours? Chu Tianyu's heart was in a mess. When the Qilin team lost, he really wanted to admit everything and bear his sins. However, Yu Tsunjian's threat reminded him of his mother, who was controlled by Chu Xinyan. He could disregard his own reputation and life, but how could he ignore his mother? He had accepted his fate and was at the mercy of Yu Tsunjian and the others like a puppet. But when the mysterious heaven bead appeared, his originally dead heart began to beat again. As long as he gave the mysterious heaven bead to Chu Xinyan, would the immortal Chu Xinyan let him and his mother go? He, Chu Tianyu, was afraid of death, cowardly, and despicable. When the only hope of survival was placed in front of him, greed and hope floated in his heart again. But how could such a despicable and cowardly face the Qilin team who worshipped him? How would the girl whom he pretended to look down on him? Chu Tianyu's eyes were filled with struggle. All of a sudden, Yu Tsunjian's sneering voice came into his ears. Your Highness, from the moment you decided to pretend to be Yi Liangshen, you have no way out. Do you think that Jun Mayan or the Qilin team would forgive you? Chu Tianyu's face instantly paled. Yes. Once he stepped into the darkness, would he be able to return to the light? He was merely deceiving himself and others. The corners of Chu Tianyu's mouth hooked up into a self-deprecating smile. Chapter 2083. Murong Shui suddenly shouted, Big Brother Chu, what's wrong with you? Is the Dark Heaven Orb really that important to you? It's so important that you don't even want your conscience and dignity. Chu Tianyu said calmly, Yes, the Dark Heaven Orb is very important to me. I am Yi Liangshen, and the Dark Heaven Orb belongs to me. What's wrong with me taking back what belongs to me? Everyone in the Kirin team was shocked and stared at him in disbelief. Then, the shock in their eyes slowly turned into disappointment. Yu Tsunjian and Elder Song, on the other hand, burst into laughter and patted Chu Tianyu's shoulder in satisfaction. Dean, did you hear that? His Royal Highness is Yi Liangshen, and Yi Liangshen is His Royal Highness. If any of you refuse to let him take the Dark Heaven Orb, Yu Tsunjian sneered and waved the paper crane in his hand. Then wait for the Marquis to come and settle the score with you, puff. A sword light shot into the tower from outside and instantly penetrated Yu Tsunjian's hand. Ah! Yu Tsunjian screamed as his entire right hand and the paper crane in his hand exploded into pieces. Blood dripped down from his amputated wrist. Yu Tsunjian's face twisted in pain as he looked toward the door in horror. A man with snow-white hair, who looked to be in his 30s, slowly walked into the chaotic tower. Elder Kong. Zhou Daoi almost cried tears of joy when he saw the man. The other mentors of the Soaring Dragon Academy also shouted, Deputy Dean Kong. Kong Yuanjiu, the Deputy Dean of the Soaring Dragon Academy, was not responsible for any affairs of the Academy, but was the most powerful man in the Soaring Dragon Academy. 10 years ago, he was ranked 8th on the Blue Sky Roll. Since then, there was no record of him fighting, and no one knew his real cultivation level. Yu Tsunjian and Elder Song stared at him in horror. Deputy Dean Kong, what are you doing? Are you trying to go against the Marquis by taking the Dark Heaven Orb from the Crown Prince? The two shouted for a long time, but Kong Yuanjiu didn't even look at them. Instead, he walked straight to Mu Yin. Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, Kong Yuanjiu slightly bowed his head and said solemnly, Miss June, I've heard a lot about you. I finally get to meet you. Everyone present was dumbfounded. What was going on? Why does Kong Yuanjiu seem to know Mayan? And why is he so respectful towards her? Kong Yuanjiu is a crossing tribulation stage cultivator, while Junmayan is merely a gold core stage little girl. No matter how he thought about it, this scene was too unbelievable, right? Don't say that the others are confused. Mayan is even more confused. Do I know him? However, this voice sounded a little familiar. She suddenly had a flash of inspiration. The one who arranged for us to stay in Tianlang Palace was you. That's right. Kong Yuanjiu smiled sincerely. I wonder if Miss June is satisfied with your stay in Tianlang Palace. After a pause, he continued, Tianlang Palace has been bound to your soul from the very beginning. If you are not satisfied, you can change it to your heart's desire. Bound to her divine soul? Mayan is startled. Then a thought faintly emerges in her mind. But before he could ask anything, Yu Tsunjin bellowed, Kong Yuanjiu, don't think you can do whatever you want just because you're a tribulation cultivator. You are ranked 8th on the Green Sky list, while Master Ho is ranked 3rd. If you really dare to covet the things of the Marquis's mansion, Master Ho will definitely destroy your Dragon Ascension Academy. Kong Yuanjiu narrowed his eyes and slowly turned his head. But in a flash, his face no longer has the gentleness and respect he showed to Mayan just now. Chapter 2084. Even though he had a light smile on his face, it was enough to suffocate people. This was the strength of a tribulation transcending cultivator. There was no need for words, no need for spiritual power fluctuations, and no need for pressure to make you feel fear. Kong Yuanjiu's gaze shifted and landed on Chu Tianyu. Chu Tianyu, let me ask you again, are you Yu Liangchen? Chu Tianyu couldn't stop his body from trembling. The fear in his heart that was on the verge of collapse made him want to immediately kneel down and surrender. But in the end, he gritted his teeth, clenched his fists, and said hoarsely, yes, I am Yu Liangchen. The mysterious heaven pearl is mine. The people of the Xiaoyao school couldn't hold it in anymore. They cursed, Yu Liangchen my ass. How shameless. Ha! Shamelessness seems to be the tradition of the Dingwa manor. From the master to the servants, they are all the same. Sun Yuanjiu chuckled. You said you were Yap Liangchun. All right then, I'll give you the profound heaven pearl. Go and get it. As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed. Elder Kong, Zhou Daoyi, said anxiously, you don't know what happened just now. There's no doubt that Jun Mayan is Yu Liangchun. Kong Yuanjiu waved his hand. I know. There's no need to worry. He looked at Chu Tianyu with a faint smile. Didn't you hear what I said? You can go and take the mysterious heaven pearl. As long as you can take it away, it will be yours. And you are Yi Liangchen. Chu Tianyu swallowed a mouthful of saliva, his body stiffly turning towards the profound heaven pearl. As soon as the blue bead entered his eyes, his blood seemed to boil. Yu Tsunjian did not even care about the wound on his hand. He shouted excitedly, Prince, quick, go get the dark heaven bead. As long as he gave the mysterious heaven bead to the Marquis, he would have done a great service. It was a mere hand. Master Hone naturally had elixirs that could heal his hand. When Lung Yuma and the others saw this, they were about to explode in anger. Damn it, I thought that a good person had come, but it turns out that they are all fucking jackals of the same tribe. Junior sister, these bastards want to swallow your things. Let's fight it out with them. The others were also filled with righteous indignation. Even the most composed Yun Ruhan, who'd been shouting about keeping a low profile, couldn't remain calm. He had bullied their junior sister again and again in front of them. Did he really think that the Xiaoyao school had no one? Do you believe that I won't invite little martial uncle and teacher Mo over and blast your lousy dragon soaring academy into smithereens? The people of the Xiaoyao sect all took out their weapons, and their faces were filled with determination, as if they were saying, I'll die with you bastards. But in next to no time, a jade white hand obstructed their path. Muyan looks at Kong Yuanjiu and says thoughtfully, don't be impatient. Things may not be what you think. On the other side, Chu Tianyu had already walked in front of the mysterious heaven pearl. His eyes were slightly red as he slowly extended his trembling hand towards the profound heaven pearl. On the back of his hand, The veins on his forehead and neck were throbbing nonstop. It was obvious how excited and nervous he was at this moment. Profound Heaven Orb. He was finally going to obtain the Profound Heaven Bead. As long as he obtained the Profound Heaven Bead, he would be able to obtain redemption, and his mother would also be able to obtain redemption. His fingertips touched the ice-cold surface of the orchid stone. In the next moment, a dazzling ray of light burst out from the stone. Chu Tianyo's entire body was fiercely ejected, and he crashed into a table. Immediately after, an ancient and deep voice that carried a desolate aura resounded in everyone's ears. Chapter 2085. The Lord of Six Stars has successfully condensed the mysterious heaven bead. All teachers and students of Dragon Soar Academy must guard it with all their might. Do not covet it. Anyone who covets it will be severely punished. Those who refuse to repent will be punished. Chu Tianyu suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His abdomen burst open, flesh and blood splattering everywhere. His face was deathly pale, his eyes staring blankly in the direction of the mysterious heaven bead, as if he had lost his mind. Yu Tsunjian and Elder Song were aghast, their mouths agape. They couldn't make a sound for a long time. Kong Yuanjiu looked at the three mockingly. After a while, he sneered, "The Hexstar Pagoda has a spirit. It has guarded Dragon Soar for thousands of years. The Emperor ordered him to keep the chaotic tower and the mysterious heaven bead for the Lord of Six Stars. I'm afraid you've already forgotten what the Hexstar Pagoda's spirit said when the mysterious heaven bead was condensed. Do you really think that the Emperor's things can be easily coveted?" Inside the chaotic tower, there was a deathly silence. Chu Tianyu slumped to the ground. Suddenly, he grinned and laughed lowly. Tears mixed with blood slid down from the corners of his eyes. His laughter grew louder and louder. His voice was hoarse with madness and sorrow. "Ha ha! Chu Tianyu, who do you think you are? What Yiliang Chun? What Lord of Six Stars? You're a joke. A complete joke. Ha ha!" Everyone in the Qilin team looked at him with complicated expressions. There was anger, pain, and pity in their eyes. Murong Shui wanted to say something, but in the end, she turned her head and bit her lip. Kong Yuanjiu looked at Mayan. His sarcastic expression immediately became gentle. "Miss June, please take back the mysterious heaven bead that belongs to you." Mayan took a deep breath and slowly walked towards the mysterious heaven bead. The closer she got to the blue bead, the more she could feel the vibration of the Tian Mo Qin space inside her. It was as if the powerful sacred object that had dominated the three realms couldn't hold back anymore. It wanted to rush out and devour a part of it. The entire chaotic tower was silent. Everyone's eyes were firmly fixed on Mayan. Everyone wanted to know. The mysterious heaven bead that sent Chu Tianyu flying and made him spit blood, would it allow Mayan to touch it? Was this beautiful young girl the real King Yuliangshan? The girl slowly raised her hand. His slender hands were as white as jade, and his joints were well-proportioned, as if they were carved from the most translucent white jade in the world. His fingertips landed lightly on the dark blue stone. Everyone held their breaths. And then to everyone's surprise, nothing happened. The chaotic tower was silent. The mysterious heaven pearl in Mu Yan's hands and the jade box beneath it were also silent. There was neither light nor vibration. Everyone looked at each other, dumbfounded. So, this proves that Mayan is Yuliangshan? Why does it feel so unreal? However, no one knew. Under the appearance of silence, Mayan actually hears a sound in her ears. "We respectfully welcome the Lord of Six Stars to the chaotic tower. This is the profound heaven pearl. May I ask, Lord of Six Stars, should we announce to the world the true ownership of the chaotic tower and mysterious heaven pearl?" Mayan immediately recognized the voice. It belonged to the Six Stars Tower's artifact spirit. She promptly said, "No need." The true ownership that the Six Stars artifact spirit was talking about was obviously her identity as Mayan. What kind of joke was this? She couldn't hide it enough? Why would it announce it on its own initiative? "May I ask, Lord of Six Stars, should we take away the chaotic tower?" Chapter 2086. Muyin blinked and looked around in surprise. This tower is mine too? Naturally. Six-star equipment spirit replied. The Emperor has decreed that the chaotic tower and mysterious heaven pearl belong to Six-star Lord. In Flying Dragon City, the Six-star order surpasses all rules and is only restricted by the Emperor. You can naturally take the chaotic tower. Only restricted by the Emperor? Mu Yan's heart stirred. Who is the Emperor? The Emperor is the Emperor. He is supreme, and no one can disobey his orders. Mu Yan thought for a while and changed the topic. What is the use of this chaotic tower? Six-star equipment spirit was silent for a while before replying. The chaotic tower is a place to cultivate and temper one's spirit. It has two functions, cultivation and training. Cultivating in the chaotic tower will be twice as fast as cultivating outside. By training in the chaotic tower, one can accumulate combat experience and condense a true killing intent of blood and fire. Mu Yin asked doubtfully, "Isn't this similar to Six-star Tower?" Replying Six-star Lord, "The chaotic tower is different." The ancient voice said slowly, "Six-star Tower cultivates and selects true geniuses. As for the chaotic tower, it is called the chaotic tower because it is formed by the chaos and the unity of all desolations. The chaotic tower does not nurture a single strong cultivator, but an invincible army." Devour suddenly shrunk back. You're saying that the chaotic tower can accommodate many people to cultivate and train at the same time? Yes, according to Six-star Lord's level. Your strength is equivalent to level 7 Nihility Immortal and can accommodate 100 people. Strength is equivalent to level 9 Nihility Immortal and below Golden Immortal and can accommodate 1,000 people. Strength is equivalent to Golden Immortal and above, can accommodate 10,000 people. Six-star equipment spirit was still reporting the number of people that the chaotic tower could accommodate at each level. Mu Yan's mind was already in turmoil, and she could not take it in. Being able to accommodate 100, 1,000, or even 10,000 people to train at the same time, did that mean that she could let the Netherflame Army and Liangshan Army enter the chaotic tower to train? However, level 7 Nihility Immortal, she had heard from Di Ming that it represented tribulation, or at least peak leaving body stage. It was still far from allowing the chaotic tower to accommodate 1,000 people. But just 100 people was not bad. Mu Yin suppressed the excitement in her heart and asked with her divine sense, "Can I take the chaotic tower away now?" "Yes." The Six-star Pagoda artifact spirit paused for a moment, then said, "But please allow me to remind Lord of Six-star that the chaotic pagoda is a rare demon god artifact. Even a sovereign cannot fully control it. Lord of Six-star, your current cultivation is too low. If you carry the chaotic pagoda with you, I'm afraid you won't be able to completely conceal its aura. For a treasure like the chaotic pagoda, if it was unable to conceal its aura, it would naturally be coveted by others. But mine's focus is somewhat different, a demon god artifact. She has also heard Han Yi mention the levels of magic weapons in the Xiuxin continent. Although her understanding isn't very comprehensive, she's certainly never heard of the demon god artifact. The so-called demon god artifact is a type of magic treasure that is completely different from the artifact forging system of the three realms. In the world, demonic god artifacts were extremely rare. Generally, demon god tools would only recognize one true master, and they could grow stronger with the growth of their master's strength. Whether it was spiritual power, demon power, or evil spirit, they could all be absorbed by them. Some of the more special demon divine weapons have their own weapon spirits. Their true power is even more unimaginable. Even divine objects cannot compare to them. Muyin almost immediately thinks of Xiaobao's Bixia sword. Chapter 2087. Lord Ho's Desperate Strike 1. However, at this moment, the people within the chaotic tower were already in an uproar due to this long-lost silence. Yu Tsuanjian and Elder Song stared at the mystical heaven orb in her hand with blazing eyes, as if they wanted to pounce on it. Mu Yin could only gather her thoughts and ask one last question. "So you mean to leave the chaotic tower here?" "Yes and no," the ancient voice said respectfully. The more people who train in the chaotic tower, the more killing intent, spiritual energy, and divine sense will remain in the tower. It will be more beneficial to the Lord of Six Stars army. I suggest that you place the Hexstar Tower in Divine Elephant City for all cultivators to train and train in until the day you take it back. Mu Yan's eyes grew brighter and brighter, and her lips curled into a sly smile. All right, I'll leave the chaotic tower in the center of Divine Elephant City. Grandpa Artifact Spirit, please look after it for me. And she paused and was about to continue when Yu Tsunjian suddenly roared. When the Lord of Six Stars arrived, heaven and earth shook, and the sky was filled with multicolored light. The entire soaring dragon bead belonged to Yi Liangqin. But now that this woman has the mystical heaven orb, the artifact spirit, and the chaotic tower have no reaction at all. Doesn't that prove that she's not Yi Liangqin? Yes, yes. Elder Song's eyes widened, and he murmured, who knows if she's the real Yi Liangqin? The mystical heaven orb can't be given to her. Suddenly, he made up his mind, and his cultivation erupted, and he pounced at Mu Yan. Let me keep the mystical heaven orb for now. However, before Elder Song could touch Mu Yan, Sun Yuanjiu had already waved his sword. Elder Song was only at level 1 of Leaving Aperture, while Sun Yuanjiu was already at Tribulation Passing. This sword strike, with only sword energy, directly knocked Elder Song to the ground. Elder Song crashed into a pillar, and he was dizzy at first, then he screamed. His right hand, which was about to snatch the mystical heaven orb, was sent flying. He looked at Sun Yuanjiu with shock and fear, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Kong Yuanjiu, what are you doing? Yu Tsunjian shrieked. Things have always been suspicious. Elder Song wanted to take back the Dark Heaven bead for safekeeping and give it to Mayan after confirming her identity. What's wrong with that? You, how could you be so vicious as to chop off Elder Song's arm? What are your intentions? Kong Yuanjiu sneered. Chu Tianyu doesn't have the ability to obtain the mysterious Heaven Pearl. He isn't Yi Liangqin. Young Miss June obtained the profound Heaven Bead and did not suffer from any backlash. This naturally proves that she is Yi Liangqin. What's there to doubt about? Holding his broken arm, Yu Tsunjin glanced at Chu Tianyu and Elder Song. All of a sudden, his eyes were filled with viciousness and his face twisted. If he could not obtain the mysterious Heaven Bead today, he would not be able to complete the Marquis's instructions. His fate would be even more miserable than death. Rather than that, he might as well go all out. All of a sudden, Yu Tsunjian raised his hand and grabbed at Qilin and the members of Carefree Squad. In the Blood Slaughter Sword formation, the members of the Carefree Squad had long since trained their reflexes to dodge danger at any time, so they quickly dodged. But the Qilin Squad was not so lucky. Duan Wenbin, Chu Yuanlei, and Murong Shui were the strongest among them, so they barely managed to dodge. But the others were all wrapped around the neck by a black steel whip in Yu Tsunjin's hand and dragged directly in front of him. Give me the mysterious Heaven Bead, or I'll make sure that these brats of the Qilin Squad die without a corpse. Chapter 2088. The Desperate Blow of Master Ho and his team. 2. Yu Tsunjian's usually gentle and elegant face twisted crazily. He tightened the steel whip in his hand, and the Qilin team immediately wailed in pain. These Qilin team are the chosen ones of the big families. If they die, the big families and sects will never let it go, and the soaring dragon will be finished. Make your choice. Do you want the lives of these brats or the Dark Heaven Bead? Yu Tsunjin's move was out of everyone's expectation. Zhou Daoi and the others were livid and incredulous. Even Sun Yuanjiu frowned. Yu Tsunjin, do you know what you are doing? Giving the Dark Heaven Bead to the Lord of Six Stars is an iron rule set by the Emperor. In the Soaring Dragon, the Emperor's order is the supreme rule, and no one can disobey it. Are you going to disobey the Emperor now? Emperor? Huh? What Emperor? Don't be ridiculous. Yu Tsunjin threw his head back and laughed. How can there be an emperor in this world? The emperor disappeared 1,000 years ago and never showed up again. No one knows whether he is dead or not. only you still follow these dead rules. Sun Yuanjio's face suddenly darkened. He stared at Yu Tsuinjian, and the blade in his hand was faintly discernible. Yu Tsuinjian tightened the steel whip in his hand again, and Xue Huailu, who was at the periphery, immediately wailed like a pig being slaughtered. Blood gushed out from his neck. Xue Huailu was so scared that his tears and snot flowed out, and the stinky liquid flowed directly from his crotch. He shouted hysterically, "I don't want to die. Help me. Help me. Give him the Dark Heaven bead, Jun Mayan. Do you hear me? Give him the Dark Heaven bead." Mayan sneered and did not even look at him. Hatred surged in Xue Huailu's eyes, and his face was ferocious. His hatred for her was far greater than that of Yu Tsuinjian, who kidnapped him. But he could do nothing about Mayan, and could only look at Zhou Daoi and the others. "Dean, help me. I am the grandson of the Xue family. If I die, the Xue family will not let Soaring Dragon off." Su Yi, Shi Jingfeng, and the others also repeatedly begged for mercy. They also conveniently scolded Mayan for not helping when she was in danger. His cowardly face caused Duan Wenbin and the other two to frown. Their eyes were filled with shame and disgust. On the other hand, Zhu Chongliang and Jin Zhonghao clenched their teeth tightly and didn't utter a word. Zhou Daoi, the vice deans, and the others all had conflicted expressions on their faces. Xue Huailu's and the others' identities were too special. If they really died in the Soaring Dragon sect, the various aristocratic families and sects would definitely not let the matter rest. They looked hesitantly at Sun Yuanjio. Kong Yuanjio sneered, "Yu Tsuinjian, kill me if you can, but in Longting, the Emperor's order is everything. I, Kong Yuanjio, will bear all the consequences." It never occurred to Yu Tsuinjian that Kong Yuanjio would not compromise even when he was in a life-and-death struggle. If Kong Yuanjio had swallowed the Dark Heaven Orb, he would have accepted it. But he, an expert of the Green Sky role and a practitioner of the Crossing Tribulation stage, had risked everything to protect a powerless young girl. Yu Tsuinjian was about to lose his mind. "Kong Yuanjio, have you lost your mind? For this woman, you don't even care about the safety of Soaring Dragon? Who the hell is this bitch? Did she seduce you? Is she your little lover? Is that why you were protecting her at all costs?" Kong Yuanjio's face suddenly changed. His anger was mixed with fear, and his body was trembling. He was even more agitated than when he saw Yu Tsuinjian kidnap the members of the Qilin team. P.S. There is one more chapter. I'm still writing. Chapter 2089. Greetings to the Emperor. Which Emperor? You shut up. You're the crazy one. Shut up. How could Miss June and I? How could? Everyone was a little dumbfounded. When had they ever seen Elder Kong speak so incoherently and lose his head out of fear? Yu Tsuinjian, however, laughed sharply. Haha. Did I hit the nail on the head? So you're feeling guilty? Or rather, not your lover, but Lan Feng's? Lan Feng cursed angrily. You're slandering me. Yu Tsuinjian, don't go too far. Ha. As early as the beginning of the Deer Cry banquet, I heard that this shameless woman hooked up with men everywhere. Not only did she hook up with the royal family of the Lan family, but also the people of the Seuss family were bewitched by her. That's why she sent gifts to a little-known team one after another at the beginning of the Deer Cry banquet. And you, Kong Yuanjio, you arranged for a small team from the Blue Realm to live in the Tianlang Palace. That's the forbidden area of the entire Longting, where no one is qualified to set foot. But you specifically pointed out that Mayan should live there. Who would believe that you have no affair with this woman? I think you've long been bewitched by your little lover, and you've even forgotten that you're an elder of the Longting, haven't you? Yu Tsuinjian was now like a cornered dog jumping over the wall, wishing he could bite at will and drag everyone down with him. However, his words caused many people present to reveal doubtful expressions. Indeed, the gifts of the Seuss and the royal family of the Lan family aside, Kong Yuanjio's action of arranging for the Carefree team to live in the Tianlang Palace was really too strange. In the Divine Elephant City, everyone knew that the Tianlang Palace was the forbidden area of the Longting, or rather, the Holy Land. Even Kong Yuanzhou dared not set foot there. The carefree team was just a small team from the Blue Realm. What qualifications did they have to live in the Tianlang Palace? Yu Tsunjin proudly looked at Kong Yuanzhou, who was trembling with anger, and his obscene and vicious eyes turned to Mayan. Mayan, I don't know if you're Yi Liangshin, the Lord of 6 Stars, but I admire your ability to seduce men. However, with your country-toppling beauty, you do have the capital to bewitch people. Yu Tsunjin licked his lips. Why don't you let me have a taste of ecstasy? I guarantee that you'll be able to live a good life if you follow me. It'll be much better than following that boring old fart, Kong Yuanzhou. Mu Yin slightly narrowed her eyes, a cold light overflowing from the bottom of her eyes. The people from the Xiaorao sect were furious. Their killing intent surged, and they didn't even want to say anything. They just wanted to kill this shameless bastard. However, before they could make a move, the entire chaotic tower suddenly shook violently. A pressure so powerful that it could suffocate people instantly exploded in the main hall. This pressure was like a raging storm, sweeping away all obstacles and unstoppable. Other than those who were at Leaving Aperture Realm Advanced, Leaving Aperture Realm, and those from the Xiao Yao sect, the others didn't even have the chance to make a sound before they fainted. Yu Tsunjin suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He could not even hold the steel whip in his hand, and it fell to the ground. He raised his head in horror and shouted in a trembling voice, Who? Who are you? Kong Yuanzhou's pupils suddenly shrank, and he abruptly knelt down. Zhou Daoyi and the vice deans, who were barely conscious, opened their mouths slightly and stared blankly at a dazzling light slowly bursting out from the center of the hall, which eventually condensed into a tall figure. When the light dissipated, an incomparably handsome face was revealed. However, the man clearly had a face that could turn all living things upside down, but the first thing that everyone noticed was not his face, nor was it his bottomless blue eyes. Instead, it was an overwhelming pressure that made people want to submit and not have the slightest desire to resist. Kong Yuanzhou's whole face was almost stuck to the ground, and he said in a trembling voice, Greetings, Emperor! The voice was like a heavy hammer that knocked on everyone's soul. Zhou Daoyi and the vice dean's knees softened, and they knelt down with a thud. There was only one sentence echoing in his mind. Emperor, Emperor, which Emperor? Di Mingju's eyes turned and fell on the completely stiff face of Yu Tsunjin. The corners of his mouth hooked up into a cold smile like that of a demon from the 9th heaven. You want to let my fiancé have a taste of ecstasy? Why don't you tell me? Chapter 2090. All of a sudden, Yu Tsunjin's body trembled, and he even stopped breathing. His eyes rolled back, and his body fell limply to the ground. He muttered madly, Monarch, Monarch, impossible, impossible. How could this be? How could this be? Zhou Daoyi and Yu Tsunjin were scared out of their wits. Even the people from the Xiao Yao sect were flabbergasted. Mo? Instructor Mo? Why is Teacher Mo here? Why does the elder of the Soaring Dragon sect call Teacher Mo Emperor? Although he's heard Han Yi and the others address Mo Ju as Jun Shang before. However, the people of the Xiao Yao sect didn't care at all. At this moment, they felt a tempestuous storm in their hearts, and they almost suspected that they were hallucinating. In the past 1,000 years, there had always been a legend on the road of cultivation that no one could surpass. At that time, the cultivation world was in a mess and wars were raging everywhere. Fiendish cultivators, spirit cultivators, and demonic beasts. The three sides wantonly slaughtered and fought, and a bloody and murderous aura pervaded the entire world. It was in such a chaotic world that a young man appeared. The man had a peerless appearance that could enchant all the women in the world, but he was as cold as an iceberg and did not get close to women. At first, no one paid attention to the young man's appearance. But slowly, the man became stronger and stronger, and more people gathered under him. By the time the spirit cultivators, demonic cultivators, and demon beasts who were addicted to war and blood came to their senses, more than half of the cultivation continent was already under the man's control. For the first time in the cultivation world, there was a complete reshuffle. The man set the rules of the cultivation world. The weak could be prey to the strong, but the innocent could not be killed. They could be in opposing camps, but the mortals could not be harmed. Some refused to accept it, some violated it knowingly, and some disobeyed it on the surface. Of course, these people all had miserable endings. In just a few short years, the cruel and furious devil cultivators had either disappeared or remained silent. The spirit cultivators had no choice but to submit no matter how much they schemed against them. The demonic beasts even hid in the various mountain ranges, not daring to cause trouble again. The man had also established the 4 great academies: Soaring Dragon, Fontion, Stellar, and Linguo. He had planted one flame after another for the prosperity of the cultivators on this mainland. The cultivation world was restored to an unprecedented peace and tranquility. The mortals shed tears of gratitude, deeply engraved in their hearts. The spirit cultivators were sincerely convinced and followed him as their master. Everyone addressed this young man as Emperor. He was the only person in the history of the cultivation world who unified the entire continent. Chapter 2091. Yin Yin, how many taboo have you committed these days? Ben Jun will settle the score with you in a moment. The man's deep voice whispered through gritted teeth in her ears. Mayan, who was just sad and sorrowful. If Bai Xie was here, he would definitely shout, "My dear Jun Shangdarin, did you take the wrong script? Shouldn't you hug the beauty and say, 'Yin Yin, I miss you so much'? Then, a short absence makes the heart grow fonder. Dry wood blazing fire? What's with settling the score with her? What score does she have to settle? Surely not, right?" Di Mingju ignored Mayan's struggle and pressed her into his arms. His eyes once again looked at the few people who were still conscious in the hall. Zhou Daoyi and the vice deans were still staring at the two, as if they were stupid. Sun Yunjiu hurriedly raised his hand. "Idiot, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and pay your respects to the Emperor." "Which Emperor?" "In Long Tongue Academy, who could be called the Emperor by Sun Yunjiu, who had the qualifications to make the top 10 experts of Blue Sky list kneel, other than the invincible Emperor who once swept across the entire Xiuzhen continent." Zhou Daoyi trembled all over and banged his head on the ground. Greet the Emperor?" The vice deans couldn't even speak properly and almost fainted. Di Mingju said lightly, "Now, do you still have any doubts about the identity of the Lord of 6 Stars?" No. Absolutely not." The two of them shook their heads like a rattle drum. "God, it's the Emperor. It really is the legendary Emperor, the maker and controller of the highest rules of Long Tongue Academy." So, the Lord of 6 Stars, Yi Liangshen, is not only an underage girl, but also the Emperor's fiancée? Zhou Daoyi and the vice deans felt dizzy. No wonder Mayan was so powerful. Talisman, elixir, fighting, she could do anything. So she's the Emperor's fiancée. A woman worthy of the Emperor, of course, couldn't be an ordinary person. No wonder Sun Yunjiu let Mayan and the carefree team live in Tianlang Palace. It turns out that this place originally belonged to her fiancé. Rounding it up, it belongs to Mayan. If she doesn't live here, who else is qualified to live here? At this moment, Zhou Daoyi felt extremely lucky. After June Mayan blew up several alchemy furnaces, he didn't go to her to punish her. Otherwise, he would be as dead as Yu Tsunjian. "No, it's impossible for you to be the real Emperor. You're a fake. You must be a fake. I don't want to die. I can't die." Ah! All of a sudden, Yu Tsunjian let out a hysterical roar and darted toward the door like an arrow leaving the bowstring. At this moment, he didn't care about anything else. He just wanted to escape. The primordial spirit in his body burned furiously, and it even floated out of his body. His speed was almost at the limit. With just one more step, the fresh air outside the chaotic tower would be right before his eyes. With just one more step, he would be able to fly and flee far away. A hopeful smile appeared on Yu Tsunjian's face. However, the next moment his smile froze on his face. His body strangely froze in midair, as if he was being pulled by something, unable to move. Yu Tsunjian slowly lowered his head and looked at his own body. Faint blue lines crisscrossed on the surface of his body, and even his internal organs gradually emitted faint blue light. Ah! A scream was heard, but it stopped abruptly. Then, Yu Tsunjian's whole body suddenly exploded. Chapter 2092. But there's no flesh and blood, no bones, no soul. It's as if they've evaporated, completely disappearing from the world. The entire chaotic tower is in absolute silence. Deming Ju slowly retracts his hand. Under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, he clasps Mayan's hand and turns to leave. With just one step, he's already at the entrance of the chaotic tower. Dijun, little junior's sister. Several people call out from behind. Mayan turns around and makes a gesture to the Xiaoyao sect people. I'll explain things to you later. But before she can finish speaking, she suddenly soars into the air and is carried by Di Mingju. There's a dangerous sneer on the man's handsome face. Benjun hasn't seen you for so long, and you're still in the mood to look at unrelated people? Damn, heartless woman. What's even worse is that he's about to leave again. Mayan coughs lightly. They're my fellow disciples, and also your students. How can they be unrelated people? Seeing Di Mingju's face as dark as the night, she quickly adds, of course, all the people in the world added together are not as important as you. Mayan doesn't care about the onlookers behind her. She wraps her arms around his neck and says with a smile, Di Mingju, I missed you. The girl's voice is soft and graceful, her smile languid and light. It seems to be just perfunctory words, but those peach blossom eyes, as clear as water, are genuinely filled with longing for him, as well as the joy of seeing him. Jun Shangdaren's mood is a little better. Snorting, his eyes sweep over the Xiaoyao sect people, and he reluctantly evaluates. Domain fully opened, barely qualified. As soon as his voice falls, he takes a second step, and the two instantly disappear from the world. Yun Ruhan and the others look at each other and see the joy on each other's faces. Teacher Mo actually praised them. You say barely qualified isn't a compliment? What a joke. Such a cold and arrogant mentor Mo. It's already not easy for him to say barely qualified. As for how Mentor Mo suddenly became the Xiojin continent's legendary emperor, and how the emperor is Little Junior Sister's fiancé, they can always get an explanation from Little Junior Sister. As soon as they enter the sleeping quarters of Tianlang Palace, Di Mingju presses the person against the wall, grabs those pink and tender lips, and fiercely kisses them. Their breathing became unstable, and their bodies felt like they were on fire. Only then does Di Mingju reluctantly release her, and tightly encircles the young girl in his arms. He really wanted to fuse her into his flesh and blood and bring her back to the Xiojin continent so that they could never be separated. Mu Yin quietly leans against his chest, her fingers gently circling his chest. However, very quickly, Di Mingju firmly grips the dishonest little hand. The man's dark and husky voice seems to contain a monstrous flame. He whispers in her ear, Yin Yin, although there's not much time left, if you continue to seduce me like this, Ben Jun will first make you unable to get out of bed before going back. There's no harm in that. Mu Yin. Di Mingju, where is your integrity? Where was the innocent man who didn't even know how to kiss and could only write not betrothal gift in a love letter? Cough. Have there been a lot of things happening in the polar domain recently? Mu Yin raises her head to look at the man, her eyes rippling with reluctance. Is there any danger? She already knows that the one standing here, right now, isn't Di Mingju himself, but his primordial spirit avatar. With Di Mingju's current cultivation, the primordial spirit avatar is already very solid, no different from a real person. Chapter 2093. However, there was a powerful spatial barrier separating the two continents. An essence soul avatar wouldn't be able to last long. The first few times she was in a daze in her dreams, she felt a familiar embrace her, but it quickly dissipated. That is Di Mingju. Mayan's words make Di Ming Ju's eyes sink. He recalled the turbulent boundary at the northern border of the polar domain and the abnormal number of poltergeist ghosts. However, nothing strange could be seen on his face. Instead, he leaned forward and said slowly, "It's just a trivial matter. How could it be dangerous?" "Yin Yin, are you doubting Ben Jun's strength?" Mu Yin breathed a sigh of relief, but couldn't help but glare at him. "Long Tongue and 6 Stars Pagoda are yours. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have tried so hard to prove Yi Liangshan's identity. Let Di Mingju directly give her the mysterious heaven bead and the chaotic tower. Di Mingju slightly narrows his eyes, and with a smile that isn't a smile, he looks at the little woman in front of him who has a confident and righteous face. "Yin Yin, I still haven't settled the accounts with you? Why are you questioning me?" "Settle accounts? What account?" Di Mingju makes a grabbing motion in the air, and there's suddenly a stack of paper in his originally empty hand. The moment she saw the stack of papers, Mu Yan's face stiffens. On the paper, there were pictures of the Fusang team's charming naked men. Every one of them was as flirtatious as it could be, as sensual as it could be, and as fiery as it could be. Di Mingju gently shakes the paper in his hand. "Yin Yin, what did you promise me?" Mayan dryly laughs. "I didn't draw this. It was third brother who drew it. I didn't participate in the whole process, so what does it have to do with me? These papers were given to me by third senior brother to observe his painting skills. Yes, they were given to me by third senior brother." Di Mingju smiles. "Really? So, you haven't taken off other men's clothes or drawn other men?" Mu Yan, no. Di Mingju stretched out his hand again. This time, only a piece of paper appeared in his hand. However, when she saw the drawing on the paper, Mu Yan's vision darkened. It was actually Long Tongue's Garjiang, who had been put in a sack. Didn't she give this painting to Liu to burn and destroy the evidence? Luo Yu, this unreliable person, had actually kept such crucial evidence. Wasn't he trying to get her killed? Di Mingju slowly approaches Mayan, stuffing the painting in her hands. This painting, was it also drawn by Chu Moli? The cold sweat on Mu Yan's forehead is about to fall. The corners of her mouth curled into a smile, thinking that she might as well just admit her mistake. In the next moment, someone squeezed in between the two of them. Immediately after, Di Mingju's thigh is hugged. A childish voice with a hint of coldness mixed with a hint of surprise shouted, "Daddy!" Di Mingju expressionlessly lowers his head, looking at the little guy sandwiched between him and Mayan. Xiao Bao raised her head, her beautiful and exquisite little face flushed red. The blue eyes that are exactly the same as Di Mingju's are flickering, like butterfly wings gently flapping. Her eyes reflected her childlike admiration and longing for him. The lines on Di Mingju's face melt like ice, revealing a trace of gentleness. He reaches out to pick up the little guy, asking in a low voice, "Have you been cultivating well recently?" Xiao Bao obediently nods. That appearance of his is deadpan, but it's so cold and adorable that even a heart of stone would melt. However, when Di Mingju can't see, Xiao Bao quietly turns his head back and gives Mu Yin a look. Mu Yin beamed with joy, giving Xiao Bao a thumbs up. Chapter 2094. Baby, thank you so much for coming to save Nyangqin. However, just as Mine's heart is half at ease, a hand suddenly presses on the back of her neck. Her whole body is buckled into Di Mingju's arms, and a punitive kiss falls on her earlobe. It's said to be a kiss, but it's actually a bite that's neither light nor heavy. Mine cries out in pain, and her face turns red with anger. Di Mingju, this bastard, is he a dog? He actually bit her. Don't think that this is over. Yin Yin, I'm not in a hurry. After we get married, we'll slowly settle these accounts one by one. Mine stiffens. Is it too late for her to back out now and not be the mistress of the polar domain? Di Mingju looks at her faintly. If you dare to back out, Ben Jun will tie you to the bed and you won't be able to get out of it for the rest of your life. Mayan, Xiao Bao blinks. I'm a child, I don't understand anything. After Mayan and Di Mingju leave, the The chaotic tower directly banishes everyone out. Chu Tianyu staggers out of the tower and sees two black-clothed people descending from the sky. They bow towards him. "Heir, the Marquis asks you to return." Although they're speaking with honorifics, the two of them faintly form a pincer attack, blocking all his paths of retreat. Chu Tianyu gives a self-deprecating laugh and coldly says, "He's really impatient. Do you think I can escape from his palm? Let's go." The two immediately stand behind Chu Tianyu, one on the left and one on the right. One of them raises his hand, and a flying boat immediately hovers in the air. The man looks at Elder Song, who has a broken hand. Elder Song shivers and trembles as he walks over. Just as Chu Tianyu is about to board the flying boat, he suddenly hears the voices of Duan, Wenbin, and the others behind him. "Captain, Boss Chu." Chu Tianyu's body stiffens. He slowly turns around and hoarsely says, "I'm sorry, I'm not qualified to be your captain. I've shamed the Qilin team." Murong Shue's eyes redden. She wants to rush forward and grab his lapel, but she's stopped by the two cultivators sent by the Dingwa Marquis. "Captain, why are you doing this?" Murong Shue uncontrollably shouts. "Is the mysterious heaven bead that important to you? So important that you don't even want your dignity and conscience? Are you really the captain we know?" Duan Wenbin also took a step forward and glanced at the two men in black. He gritted his teeth and said, "Captain, do you have any difficulties? Can you tell us? We can help you solve any problem." "That's right, Captain. Even if we're not strong enough, we still have our family. As long as you're our boss, you'll always be our boss." Murong Shue gritted her teeth and said slowly, "Chu Tianyu, if you say you've let us down, you should at least tell us why you did it. In my heart, the captain of the Kirin team is a man of indomitable spirit, not a shameless villain who impersonates others." Chu Tianyu closed his eyes and blinked back the bitterness and wetness in his eyes. "If possible, I hope to be teammates with you again in my next life." After saying this, Chu Tianyu directly jumped onto the flying boat. Before Murong Shue and the others could react, the flying boat shot out like an arrow from a bow. Dingwa Marquis residence. "Do you have the ability to say what you just said one more time?" Chu Tianyu expressionlessly lowered his eyes and said indifferently, "The mysterious heaven bead is in the hands of the real Yi Liangchen. We'll never be able to get it back." Chu Xinyan glared at him, his body trembling slightly because of his extreme anger. Chapter 2095. Suddenly, he lifted his leg and kicked Chu Tianyu's stomach. Chu Tianyu's entire body flew out and crashed into a pillar. The bones in his body let out a crackling sound. The pillar collapsed and hit his head. Blood splattered everywhere. Chu Tianyu spat out a mouthful of blood. Both his legs were broken. He couldn't even stand up, but he smiled brightly. "Even if you kill me, you won't be able to get the mysterious heaven bead. You won't be able to get the Pill King's inheritance." Chu Xinyan's eyes were filled with rage. He took a while to suppress it. "Fine. You won't be able to get the mysterious heaven bead. You should know who Yi Liangchen is, right?" Chu Tianyu wiped the blood off his mouth and smiled mockingly. "I swore an oath not to say it. Even if I could say it, I wouldn't tell you." "You?" Chu Xinyan's eyes widened. Then he smiled coldly. "Good. Very good. Looks like your wings have hardened. Resisting me like this, you're probably already prepared for what will happen to you and your mother?" Chu Tianyu's face paled. His eyes were filled with pain. "Mother, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't protect you anymore. But rather than living like this, it's better to die." Chu Xinyan ignored Chu Tianyu. He looked at Elder Song, who was trembling. "He won't say Yi Liangchen's identity. You won't say it either, right?" No. How would I dare to hide it from Marquis?" Elder Song stammered. Before the mysterious heaven bead was formed, Yi Liangchen made us all swear an oath not to reveal any information about him. But he didn't know that a mere gold core cultivator's oath with us leaving aperture cultivators can't really bind us. As he spoke, he looked at Chu Xinyan. "Marquis, you don't need to be angry at the Crown Prince. As long as you know Yi Liangchen's identity, You won't have to worry about not getting the mysterious heaven bead. Chu Xinyan's eyes sharpened. Speak. Who is Yi Liangchen? Yi Liangchen is... Elder Song's face froze as soon as he said that. Then, the flattery on his face turned into fear and shock. No, no, no. Don't. Marquis. Save me, save. Before he could finish his sentence, a loud bang came from his body. Then, blood and flesh splattered everywhere, and broken bones scattered all over the ground. It was Elder Song's body that exploded. Faintly, an old voice reverberated in the void. Those who violate the 6 stars order shall be executed. The room was deathly silent. The veins on Chu Xinyan's forehead throbbed violently. Ha! Suddenly, Chu Tianyu burst into unbridled laughter. This laughter caused Chu Xinyan's anger to boil. In the next moment, he had already appeared in front of Chu Tianyu and fiercely stomped his head into the ground. The pain of his skull shattering made Chu Tianyu wail in pain. Tears mixed with blood flowed from his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. However, there was still a twisted smile on his face. When the 6 stars order is issued, no spirit cultivator can defy it. Even if you kill me, even if you shatter my primordial spirit and search my soul, you still won't get anything. Father, you will never know who Yi Liangchen is, and you will never be able to obtain the mysterious heaven pearl. Chu Xinyan took a deep breath, and the monstrous anger on his face slowly receded. He withdrew the foot that was stepping on Chu Tianyu's face. He took out a handkerchief and slowly wiped off the blood that splashed on his body before saying faintly, Chapter 2096. It seems that you've really grown up. I can't help but admire your courage and insight today. I like you even more now. Chu Xinyan takes out a new pair of black gloves and puts them on his old bark-like wrinkled hands. He leans down and grabs Chu Tianyu's chin, forcing him to raise his head. You should be very clear. What will happen to a child who is loved by father? Oh, that's right, there's also your mother. She has sat in the position of the Marquis for too long. Where to send her next, father needs to think about it. Chu Tianyu's body suddenly trembles, and he suddenly yells, Chu Xinyan, you're not a human. What do you want to do to my mother? Chu Xinyan, she has loved you for so many years. How can you treat her like this? Chu Xinyan has a smile on his face, seemingly very satisfied with his current performance. After a long time, he narrows his eyes and says, If you want me to let your mother go, it depends on your performance. Don't say that father didn't give you a chance. Father will give you another 7 days. Within 7 days, if you can tell Father Yi Liangchen's identity, your mother will still have a way to live. Otherwise, Father seems to remember that Lu Yu has been interested in your mother's beauty for a long time. Why don't Father send your mother over? Chu Tianyu's pupils suddenly shrink and his body trembles like a sieve. At the same time, he feels an indescribable nausea, making him unable to stop himself from vomiting. Who is Lu Yu? He is Chu Xinyan's most powerful confidant, but he is also an out-and-out devil. He takes pleasure in torturing and degrading women. Chu Tianyu has seen with his own eyes that Lu Yu peels off the skin of a young girl. Feng Yu gave Leng Yuyao to Lu Yu. The next day, Leng Yuyao ran out crying for help. However, a few days later, when Chu Tianyu saw her again, this once sinister and greedy woman has become a walking puppet. Living a life worse than death, purgatory on earth. This is the fate of those women who were given to Lu Yu. And Chu Xinyan actually wants to give his mother, the Marquis of the Dingwa Manor, to Lu Yu to abuse and play with. Chu Tianyu almost wants to vomit out all his internal organs. Tears of blood slowly flow down his cheeks. In the Tian Mo Qin space, there's no one playing the Tian Mo Qin, and it's constantly making chaotic sounds. Qi Huang nervously watches the changes in the Tian Mo Qin. Mu Yin and Xiao Bao's sighs, one big and one small, come to his ears. Sigh. Qi Huang angrily says, The Tian Mo Qin is currently absorbing the mysterious heaven bead. What are you sighing about at such an important moment? Mayan rolls her eyes at him and says with some flagging interest, "Can I miss my fiancé?" Xiaobao pursed his lips and said seriously, "Xiaobao, Mrs. Daddy, can I?" Seven Brilliance felt as though he had received a 10,000 critical hits. How he wished he could stomp the two of them into the ground. Deming Ju has only appeared here as a primordial spirit avatar. He can't stay for long, plus the polar domain situation is critical. Therefore, the family of three did not spend much time together. Jun Shangdaren's unwilling, or perhaps it should be said that his dissatisfied figure slowly dissipates. Mu Yin and Xiao Bao anxiously waited for him to come, but in the end, they didn't even say a few words before he left. Of course, they were unhappy. That was why the scene just now happened. However, playing around is just playing around. Mine quickly gets up and walks over to the Tian Emochin. Whether the Tian Emochin can level up, whether she can advance to the 7th rank of the Shin musician, is very important to her. Chapter 2097. Not long after, the Tian Emochin's automatic sound slowly fades away. The radiance of the zither also gradually faded. Muyin nervously stares at the Tian Emochin, waiting for its second stage of change. However, 1 breath passed, 2 breaths passed, 15 minutes passed. Mayan points at the Tian Emochin, then looks at Qi Xiaohuang. This time when the Tian Emochin was repaired, why wasn't the movement as big as last time? The last time the Tian Emochin was restored was in the Yinwu continent, in that Wang Yi's mansion. At that time, her moon's spiritual root was stimulated. It was said that even the cultivation continent and the cultivation continent were alarmed by the phenomenon. The Tian Emochin's appearance has also changed from its original worn-out appearance to its current appearance that can barely be seen. But this time, the Tian Emochin doesn't have the slightest change. Mayan walks over, picks up the Tian Emochin, looks around, and gently plucks the strings. Indeed, it was exactly the same as before. She suspiciously asks, "I can already break through the bottleneck of the 6th level of Shin musician? You're thinking too much." Qi Huang rolls his eyes. The Tian Emochin hasn't completed its 2nd advancement. What? Mayan glares at him. Didn't you say that the mysterious heaven bead is the material to repair the Tian Emochin? Otherwise, she wouldn't have to risk her life to take back the profound heaven orb. It's not bad to sell it for a good price. She had to support a big family now, so she was really poor. Qi Huang sneers. This deity said that the mysterious heaven bead is the material to repair the Tian Emochin, but didn't say that as long as the mysterious heaven bead is present, the Tian Emochin's 2nd advancement can be completed. Mu Yin frowns. What do you mean? The Tian Emochin's 2nd advancement is the restoration of the Qin's body. The body of an ancient zither is divided into the crown and horn, the zither waist, the zither shoulders, the zither neck, the heaven and earth pillars, and so on. The mysterious heaven bead fuses with the Tian Emochin, but it can only repair 1/3 of the zither's body. Of course, it's impossible for any changes to occur. Mayan is a little dumbfounded. Then how many things do I need to repair the Tian Emochin? Where are the remaining materials? I don't know, 7 Brilliance said very irresponsibly. You don't know? Mayan squints at him. Qi Xiaohuang, are you really the spirit of the Tian Emochin? Don't tell me it's some wild monster in disguise. He was clearly an artifact spirit, but he knew nothing about his true self. Was there such an idiotic artifact spirit in this world? Qi Huang flies into a thunderous rage. The Tian Emochin's restoration materials are all dropped from the Qin's body. How would Ben Zun know what they become after they drop? Moreover, the materials dropped by the Tian Emochin are all rare treasures in the world. In order to prevent others from coveting them, they will automatically restrain their aura. This deity can't leave the space, so it's only natural that I can't sense it. Jun Mayan, this bastard, actually dared to doubt him. Bastard. How infuriating. Mu Yin turned a blind eye to Qi Xiaohuang's outburst, but frowned with a headache. He had only repaired 1/3 of it, but he didn't even know what the remaining materials were, or where they were. The cultivation continent was so big. Where was he going to start looking? Mother! Just as she was feeling vexed, Xiao Bao's voice suddenly sounded in her ears. Mother, look at this map. Mu Yin turns around and sees Xiao Bao holding a map in his hand. Mu Yin was still very familiar with this map. It was left behind by Bailey Yinlu at that time for her to search for materials to repair the Tian Emochin. When she was in the Yinwu continent, she had indeed completed the first advancement of the Tian Emochin through the coordinates on the map. Chapter 2098. However, after coming to the Yinwu continent, Mine also checked the map, but she discovered that there were no coordinates at all, nor was there any response. However, the map that Little Bao brought over was slightly different. They see that the map that was originally completely in line with the Yinwu continent has now completely changed. Is this a map of the cultivation world? Mayan is startled and quickly moves closer to take a look. Hey, Chi Huang, come look, there's a circle on this map. Chi Huang was still throwing a tantrum, grunting and ignoring her. Mu Yin directly grabs his collar and pulls the brat over. Before Chi Huang explodes in anger, she strokes his head. Be good. Don't make trouble. Quickly help me see if the remaining restoration materials for the Tian Emochin are here. The blue veins on Chi Huang's forehead throbbed. He wanted to curse out loud. I'm a dignified ancient artifact spirit. Is my head something you can casually touch? At the same time, he felt that this feeling was very novel. He had experienced the river of time for such a long time, and he had seen all kinds of people in the world, but there had never been anyone like Jun Mayan who treated him without any ill feelings, without reverence or alienation. Chi Huang snorts awkwardly, looking at the map in Mayan's hands. After a long while, he says, the remaining materials for the Tian Emochin are in this circle. According to Chi Huang, the people of the spirit music sect had been persecuted and hunted by the entire Xiuxing continent. The fluctuation of the Tian Emochin's breath has already been captured by some of the Xiuxing continent's refining sects. If he carries the complete Tian Emochin, even if he escapes to the Yinwu continent, he would still be discovered very quickly. As a result, Bailey Yinlu and the others had no choice but to strip out a portion of the Tian Emochin's materials that would expose their aura and throw them in various places in the three realms. The material that can expose its aura is naturally the most powerful and precious part of the Tian Emochin. As a result, without these materials, the Tian Emochin is weakened by more than 90%. And if a Shin musician wants to display their full strength, the Tian Emochin is indispensable. The map that Bailey Yinlu had left behind was embedded with complicated glyphs. As long as there is spiritual energy, it can automatically sense the location of the Tian Emochin's materials. In the beginning, there was no reaction because the materials on the cultivation continent were too scattered and their auras were too weak. Now that the mysterious heaven orb had returned to its original body, the map finally sensed the location of the remaining materials. However, Mayan frowns and says gloomily, if Bailey Yinlu wants to give us the coordinates, then just give us the coordinates. What's the meaning of drawing a circle? A small circle on the map was hundreds of kilometers wide. Furthermore, this circle covered the Woodfern Sea and the Pil Yang mountain range, as well as the azure blue world and the purple cloud world. If she wanted to find a small material in such a large area, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Chi Huang also disdainfully said, the people from godly musicians are really a bunch of trash. They're being chased like stray dogs. They can't even accurately locate the repair materials. Mu Yin glanced at him with a smile that was not a smile. Chi Xiao Huang, your tone is really big. At least Bailey Yinlu gave me a ring. What about you? Not even a circle. Bastard. Seven Brilliance stomped his foot in anger. If I could leave the space, I would have already found these materials. Mu Yin fiddled with the strings and put away the map. No matter what, at least he had a rough idea. There is a reaction between the Tian Emochin and the restoration materials. When the time comes, she will take the Tian Emochin and circle around these places 8 or 10 times. She doesn't believe that she won't be able to find it. As for the space that Chi Huang mentioned, Mu Yin shakes her head. Chapter 2099. Not to mention that Su Zi, the only one who can bear the 7 brilliant soul, is now in seclusion. Even if there is Su Zi, there is no way to let the 7 brilliant soul possess her for a long time. Just then, something on Mu Yan's body suddenly lights up. Jade Qi. Mu Yan's eyes light up all at once. That damn so-called upgrade is finally over. She can enter Tianguang Ruins. Welcome back to Tianguang Ruins. First host. Mu Yan finds that when her divine sense enters Tianguang Ruins this time, what she sees when she opens her eyes is not the reincarnation square. Instead, it's the endless chaos she saw when she first entered Tianguang Ruins. The familiar mechanical voice echoes in her ears. She doesn't know why, but this time, Mu Yan feels that this voice seems to have a trace of human emotion. Mu Yan calms down, and the scenery in front of her slowly becomes clear. In the bottom of her eyes, the appearance of a teenager is reflected. The teenager looks about 11 or 12 years old and is dressed in a very strange costume. The upper body is a thin white shirt, and the outside is covered with a black vest. The lower body is a pair of black pants. What's even more strange is the teenager's hair, which is so short that it reveals his pointed ears. A pair of silver eyes flickered as it looked at her. It was indescribably adorable. Mu Yan has never seen this kind of attire in the martial arts stage or the Xiaoxing continent, but there is an inexplicable sense of familiarity. She hesitates. Little Tian? The teenager immediately smiles and throws himself into Mu Yan's arms, hugging and rubbing against her. First host, Little Tian misses you so much. Mu Yan is at a loss. Little Tian, why do you always call me first host? Did you recognize the wrong person? The teenager raises his head and sticks out his tongue at her. I won't recognize the wrong person. The first host's aura is exactly the same as before, and his embrace is also soft and warm. Little Tian likes it the most. It's a pity that little Guang and little Su are still asleep and can't see the first host. Hee, they must be envious of me. Mu Yan looks at the teenager's bright silver eyes. Little Tian, what is the first host? Little Tian blinks. I can't say it because of the rules. First host, you will know later. Mu Yan still wants to say something, but Little Tian has already said, Oh, Master is calling Little Tian. Little Tian is leaving. First host, welcome back to Tianguang Ruins. After saying that, without waiting for Mu Yan to ask any more questions, the youth's figure had already completely disappeared. Master? Who is the owner? Furthermore, he hadn't even asked him about the Medicine King's inheritance. Mayan is both annoyed and amused at the same time. Her divine sense moves, and she appears on the reincarnation square. Young martial uncle is also in the Tianguang Ruins. Mu Yan muttered and sent a message to Luo Yunxiao. Luo Yunxiao still didn't respond. She didn't take it to heart and strolled toward Lousy World's #1 shop. While walking, Mu Yan takes out a glittering golden token. A large medicine character was carved in the center of the token. That was right, this was the Medicine King token. But it was just a token. Mu Yan tries to use her divine sense and spiritual power to activate it, but the Medicine King token doesn't respond at all. She suddenly remembered what Little Tian had said when he was announcing the rules. In the end, the one who obtains the Medicine King token and activates it will be the true successor of the Medicine King. So, getting the Medicine King token wasn't enough, and he still had to activate it? How could he activate it? Those glass beads suddenly flashed before her eyes, and Mu Yan's eyes brightened. Chapter 2100. Xiaobao had obtained the 4 colored glass beads after he triggered the Medicine King's inheritance and passed the 3 tests with her. And on the Medicine King token, there were exactly 4 grooves. Mu Yan is about to take out the glass bead when she suddenly hears a familiar, angry voice. I repeat, we are not going back to the upper 3 districts. Even if I have to go back to the upper 3rd district, I will never go back to your city. Just give up. It was Easy Bro's voice. Mu Yan looked up and saw that many people were surrounding the old man as #1 in the world shop. At the very front were more than 10 Tianguang city enforcers who were dressed in black uniforms with gold on them. The leader of the group was a man in a loose robe. He was an old acquaintance. He was the Jiang City supervisor of the North City of the upper 3 districts of Tianguang ruins. He was the one who had chased the old master's #1 under the Heaven store out of the Tianguang ruins. Hearing the angry roar of the carefree brother, the manager of Rivertown was unperturbed. There was not a trace of guilt or annoyance on his face. There was only arrogance, as if he was giving alms. I advise you to calm down and think carefully before you speak. In the upper, middle, and lower districts of Tianguang ruins, the authority of the district administrators and urban management will decrease with each level. To put it bluntly, the district administrators of the 3 middle districts and the 3 lower districts are under the jurisdiction of the 3 upper districts. Jiang City's governor chuckled. The upper 3 districts' governor is my uncle. As long as I say the word, not to mention the upper 3 districts, you won't even be able to survive in the middle 3 districts and the lower 3 districts. Elegant Bro and North Sunflower Xiang Nuan's faces were ashen. The surrounding Liang Chen's army was also filled with righteous indignation, unable to restrain their anger. You were the one who drove God Yi out of the upper 3 zones, and now you want us to go back with a wave of your hand? What do you take us for? Isn't it just because almighty Ye's pills and talismans are selling well, and he has become the king of medicine's direct disciple, so he wants a piece of the pie? Although great God Yi hasn't appeared recently, he has left a lot of talismans for sale. Now, most of the cultivators had gone to the middle and lower districts, while only a few people went to the upper districts, which used to be the most lively. That's why this son of a bitch got anxious. Just as the man had said. After receiving the benefits from the Flowing Moon School, the supervisor of Jiang City also thought that Yi Liangchen would never be able to rise again. Therefore, he expelled the lousy is the best in the world from the upper 3 zones. Unexpectedly, Yi Liangchen, who was being suppressed by the Flowing Moon sect, actually counterattacked. He was able to draw something as heaven-defying as the water element pill, refining talisman. All of a sudden, the cultivators who had been swarming in the Flowing Moon Pill Palace all ran to the old man's #1 under the world store in the middle and lower 3 districts. As for the Flowing Moon Pill Palace, it was completely deserted overnight. Even the Flow Moon sect had become a thing of the past and had completely fallen to a 3rd or 4th-rate sect. If that was all, the Jiang City governor would not be so anxious. After all, there were only a few cultivators who wanted to buy talismans. The upper 3 districts were the highest level places in Tianguang ruins, so the human traffic and transactions were the highest. However, right after that, Yap Liangchun passed the almost impossible test and became the only inheritor of the King of Medicine. This time, the entire Tianguang ruins really exploded. The successor of the Medicine King. That means that in the future, my #1 shop in the world will not only sell talismans. There will also be elixirs. And Yi Liangchun was an omnipotent demon. He could become the master of Clear Sky Sect, slaughter the Dragon Ascension 6 rolls, and draw the barrier-breaking talisman that had never been seen before. How could the elixirs he refined be ordinary? Therefore, 1/3 of the cultivators in the upper 3 districts who had already run away, ran away again. Chapter 2101. This time, the Jiang City manager could not sit still. The decrease in the flow of people and transactions in the upper 3 districts meant a decrease in his income and the prestige of his uncle. How could the Jiang City manager accept this? However, even if he regretted it, the Jiang City manager's attitude was still condescending. He felt that it was already a great honor for him to invite Ye Liangchen and Laozi back to the world's #1 shop. If these people still dared to complain, they would be ungrateful. Jiang Chuanrong took the wine cup from his subordinate, swirled it gently, and tasted it with a look of enjoyment. This wine was called White Autumn Dew, and it was a spiritual wine unique to Tianguang ruins. This spiritual wine could be used directly on one's soul, giving one an incomparably wonderful taste. It was a delicacy that many cultivators yearned to taste. Of course, the price of White Autumn Dew was also extremely high. It was just a spiritual pleasure, but one had to pay the price of 100 superior-grade crystals. Ordinary people could not afford it, nor could they bear to taste it. However, Jiang Chunrong was different. As a city enforcement officer in the upper 3 districts of Tianguang ruins, he had a fixed income of crystals every month. Even the amount of crystal stones that those cultivators and big sects secretly offered to him as bribes was already an astronomical figure. How would these ants in the middle 3 districts and lower 3 districts understand the power of a district manager and city enforcement officer in Tianguang ruins? Just like these lowly scums, they would never understand how luxurious and wonderful it was to casually taste white autumn dew. Jiang Chunrong sighed in his heart, then looked at Elegant Bro with a smile. I admit that I was impulsive when I chased you out of the upper 3 districts. But now, I have come to invite you personally. Isn't that enough? I advise you to accept it obediently. Otherwise, if things get ugly, you might not even be able to open your shop. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Bei Kuei Xiang Nuan and Elegant Bro trembled with anger. The hot-tempered old Ma and Sister Hua wanted to rush up and slap this shameless fellow. However, before they could move, they were held back tightly by someone. Are you crazy? The law enforcement officers of Tianguang ruins are supreme beings. You can offend anyone but them. Otherwise, you will die miserably. There was an iron rule in the Tianguang ruins, and that was no real fighting. In particular, they were not allowed to use spiritual power to fight. Otherwise, they would immediately suffer the punishment of being electrocuted. However, the police were different. They were given special rights to use force in the Tianguang ruins in order to maintain order and manage the users. Therefore, in Tianguang ruins, no matter how powerful a cultivator was, they could offend anyone but the law enforcers. Jiang Chunrong heard the discussions around her and snorted softly. He had long since gotten used to the feeling of being high and mighty, of being able to control the life and death of others. Clearing her throat, Jiang Chunrong continued, "Where is Yap Liangqin? Let her come out and pay her respects to me. I have a piece of great news to tell her." Everyone present was Liangqin's army. It didn't matter if he was insulted, but Jiang Chunrong asked Ye Liangqin to greet him with such a disrespectful attitude. Everyone was about to explode. "Who do you think you are? How dare you ask Goddess Yi to worship you?" Old Ma roared in anger. The scar on his face twitched uncontrollably. He was about to fight Jiang Chunrong, but before he could finish, he heard a clear and melodious female voice from the crowd. Chapter 2102. Manager Jiang. What good news do you have for me? Why don't you tell me now? There was a moment of silence inside and outside the shop. Everyone's eyes turned to the person who spoke. Following that, a thunderous roar erupted. Guru Yi! Guru Yi is here! My God, it's been so many days and there's still no news of Guru Yi. I thought she was seriously injured in the nourishment stage. Guru Yi is fine, that's great. Bei Kuei Xiang Nuan rushed over joyfully. Her eyes were a little red, and she grabbed her sleeve and refused to let go. "Miss, you're fine. It's great that you're back." Mu Yin reached out and touched her head, then smiled gently at Liangqin Dajuan. "Don't worry. How could anything happen to me? I've made you all worry." Bei Kuei Xiang Nuan nodded heavily. Miss is the invincible Guru Yi. How could a mere medicine king's assessment hurt you?" Everyone around Laozi's #1 shop was surrounding the girl with a delicate and pretty face. All the light between heaven and earth seemed to converge at that point. Everything else paled in comparison. Even the enforcers under Jiang Chunrong were looking at Mu Yin with fervent and adoration. That was the Lord of 6 Stars, the Medicine King's successor, Yi Liangqun, in the Xiuzhen continent where the weak were prey to the strong. Who didn't worship the strong? Who didn't worship the strong? Jiang Chunrong's hand that was holding the wine glass tightened, and there was a hint of displeasure in her eyes. It was the first time in Tianguang ruins that he was ignored like this. Jiang Chunrong snorted coldly, then raised his voice. "Yi Liangqun, since you've come out, then follow me back to the upper 3 zones and talk about the cooperation." Mu Yan's gaze shifted from Liangqin Dajuan, who was concerned about her, to the hawk-eyed, long-bearded man in front of her. She couldn't help but sneer inwardly. The cultivators of Tianguang ruins could adjust their appearance. Jiang Chuanrong's current appearance wasn't that of a handsome guy, but he still had a sage-like demeanor and handsome features. Unfortunately, he was a headstrong and greedy idiot deep down in his bones. Although he was thinking of this, he did not show it on his face. I wonder how Jiang City's governor would like to cooperate? Jiang Chuanrong has a card up his sleeve. The aloof Mu Yin strokes his long beard and leisurely says, "Laozi is the world's #1 shop. You can still open it in the upper 3 districts. Moreover, I can also move the location of your shop to the most prosperous area in the North City." Mine has a smile that isn't a smile. What are the conditions? Jiang Chuanrong smiled slightly. Missy is really an understanding person. As everyone knew, the reason why Laozi's #1 shop was kicked out of the upper 3 zones was because of its fake popularity points and the poor quality of the talismans it sold. This was also a stain that was neither too big nor too small. If I let you go back for no reason, it will have a negative impact on the reputation of my upper 3rd district. So, what I mean is if the #1 shop in the world moves to the Concentrating Mind Pavilion, the biggest shop in the north of the upper 3 districts, you can still sell your magic charms and elixirs, but you have to pay 50% of the income to the Concentrating Mind Pavilion as their guarantee fee. What do you think? As soon as he said this, everyone was dumbfounded. All of them were shocked by Jiang Chuanrong's shamelessness. At that time, he obviously received benefits from the Flowing Moon sect, slandered Laozi's #1 shop in the world, and even drove Yi Liangchen out of the upper 3 districts. Now, he actually wants to make the slander true. Chapter 2103. Not only that, but he also wants a share of the profits. He is shameless enough to ask the world's #1 shop to merge with Ningxin Pavilion and pay half of the income. Why doesn't he just rob? Who doesn't know that Ningxin Pavilion is owned by Jiang Chuanrong's relative? Most of the income of Ningxin Pavilion goes into Jiang Chuanrong's pocket every year. Now he wants to merge the world's #1 shop into Ningxin Pavilion. His intentions are clear. Bei Kuei, Xiang Wan, an elegant brother, are shaking with anger. Mu Yin, however, laughs softly. She stops them and chuckles. What if I don't agree? Jiang Chuanrong's face darkens. Yi Liangchen, do you know what you were talking about? The upper 3 districts of Tianguang ruins are the noblest and most authoritative places. I am the city manager of the upper 3 districts, and my uncle is the district manager of the upper 3 districts. Strictly speaking, the middle 3 districts are under my uncle's jurisdiction. So, even the district manager of the middle 3 districts will not protect you. Then, Jiang Chuanrong seems to think of something and sneers. The district manager of the lower 3 districts is really bold. He dares to stop me from entering. He said that since you are opening a shop there, he is in charge and I have no right to interfere. Ha, what a joke. I think he is going to lose his position as the district manager of the lower 3 districts. Jiang Chuanrong's eyes were burning with excitement. She said loudly, "If you go against me here, it's equivalent to going against the rules of the entire Tianguang ruins. Yi Liangchen, think about it carefully. Don't lose your shop in the end. Screw your resisting me is equivalent to resisting the rules of the entire Tianguang ruins." Mu Yin rolls her eyes inwardly. Does little Tian know that this guy is so arrogant? In fact, when he was driven out of the upper 3 districts, little Tian said that he must suggest to the master to remove Jiang Chuanrong. But he just happened to be in time for the Medicine King's assessment, so he forgot about it. Mu Yin really thinks that if she doesn't go and settle accounts with Jiang Chuanrong, instead he wants a foot after taking an inch and bullies her. Mu Yin calls out to little Tian in her mind, but there is no response. It seems that he is still being summoned by the master. However, she is really curious about who is little Tian's current master. While he was thinking, he heard Jiang Chuanrong's impatient voice again. "Yap Liangchen, have you thought it through? Will you follow me back to the upper 3 districts and join the Concentrating Heart Pavilion, or will you not be able to survive in Tianguang ruins from now on?" Liangchen's army was about to go crazy from anger. Some of them couldn't help but clench their fists and punch Jiang Chuanrong fiercely. However, They did not dare to use their spiritual power, so they were quickly sent flying by the law enforcers beside Jiang Chuanrong. They lay on the ground and could not get up. Jiang Chuanrong smiles at Mayan, revealing a proud expression. Lord of 6 stars? Successor of the Medicine King? There were no more kings under Yi Liangqin? Huh? So what? No matter how powerful he was still in the real world. In the Tianguang ruins, Jiang Chuanrong was the true king. Anyone who dared to resist him would die. Mu Yan's face darkens. He dared to attack Liangqin's army right in front of her. Are you tired of living? Mu Yan's jade-like, lustrous hands gently pinched together, the joints emitting cracking sounds. Jiang City's administrator, right? The corner of the girl's mouth slowly raises, revealing a disdainful and dangerous smile. Didn't anyone teach you that you will end up miserably if you behave atrociously in someone else's territory? Chapter 2104. Jiang Chuanrong was stunned. She didn't know what he was talking about. The next moment, he felt a sharp pain on his face. At the same time, his entire divine soul shook violently, and he felt a burning pain. Jiang Chuanrong's whole body was sent flying, and she let out a miserable howl like a pig being slaughtered in the air. When he landed on the ground, he raised his head and revealed his face, causing many people to laugh. Jiang Chuanrong's chiseled face had actually sunk in. The bridge of his nose was smashed into pieces, and a few of his teeth were missing. His original sage-like demeanor and imposing manner had now become a joke. However, the external injuries in the Tianguang ruins would heal very quickly. Jiang Chuanrong's face quickly returned to normal. However, he was still howling in pain. This was because Mu Yan's punch had used spiritual energy, and it had directly struck his divine soul. The pain in his divine soul was 100 times more intense than the pain in his body. Someone like Jiang Chuanrong, who had always lived like a prince, had never tasted it before. Snot and tears flowed down his face as he struggled to get up. At the same time, he let out a shrill roar. "You dare to hit me, you bitch! You dare to hit, bang!" Jiang Chuanrong, who had yet to get up, was suddenly knocked to the ground by a figure that swept over like a whirlwind. A large foot stepped on his head, and with a thud, his face, which had just recovered, was stomped back into the ground. The weight of a tall and sturdy man pressed down on his face, causing his nose bone to make a cracking sound again. It was broken. "June, Yi Liangqin, give me the crystal." The tall and sturdy man, Qi Xiaohuang, rushed in front of Mu Yan and said anxiously, "Hurry, I need it urgently." Mu Yan looks at the fierce-looking man in front of her with a headache. "What the hell are you doing now?" "Don't worry about it. Anyway, I'm in urgent need of spar. Give it to me quickly. Otherwise, it will be too late." Mu Yan sighed. How much? His brat had been spoiled rotten. What else could he do? She could only spoil him. 10,000 top-grade crystals. Mu Yan's face changed greatly. 10,000 high-grade crystal stones? Qi Xiaohuang, why don't you go rob someone? No. Qi Huang was so anxious that the beard on his face trembled. "This sovereign, I really need it urgently. Just give it to me." The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches. Was Qi Huang flirting with her? Although it was a rare sight for the artifact spirit to admit defeat. But the problem is, you're not a handsome young man now, nor a cute and adorable Tuanzi, but a burly man. This coquettish tone and manner gave her goosebumps all over her body. Okay? Mu Yan has no choice but to transfer 10,000 crystals to the 7 Brilliance Jade Keys space. "Bitch! Bastard! How dare you hit me? I'll kill you!" Jiang Chuanrong, who finally got up, was about to go mad with anger. Taking out a sword from the Jade Keys space, he ruthlessly thrust it towards Mu Yan and Qi Huang. The Tianguang ruins, which usually had no spirit energy fluctuations, was now filled with surging spirit energy and overflowing killing intent. Although Jiang Chuanrong looked like an idiot, the Jiang family had been sitting in the position of the upper 3 districts for so many years. Even though Jiang Chuanrong was an idiot, she still managed to reach the leaving aperture realm thanks to the miraculous pills she received. If a leaving aperture realm cultivator were to use his spiritual energy, to stab out, the might of the sword would definitely be incomparably shocking. "Be careful, God ye!" The onlookers cried out in surprise. They wanted nothing more than to rush over and block that sword for their guru Yi. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.